And a good Thursday morning, everybody. It is the Ben and Woods program. No Stephen Woods to my right today. I'm Ben Higgins, but to my left, and I'm looking at our recap right here. He just handed it to me, hot off the presses.
Yes,
our
sir.
executive producer, imaging director, Paul Reindl. And it says right here, hey, it's my birthday. Paulie, happy birthday to you. Congratulations on making it all the way around the sun one more time.
Thank you very much. Just let everybody know that's on the recap part of our, what's going on in our lives section. It's not like the whole rundown just says, hey, it's my birthday.
No, but you could, there is that bit where on your birthday, you're not expected to really do any work whatsoever.
Right.
Even though if you didn't do any work, if you just showed up and did nothing
How would that
here
go
today,
over?
it would be a disaster. Well, I mean, it's probably going to be a disaster. Let's be honest. Yesterday was semi-disaster, with no Woods. I warned everybody at the beginning of the show. I'm probably just going to turn into Hacksaw spewing hot sports takes because that's what I do. Who knows? I may jump into basketball Ben at some point. I don't think I did talk any basketball yesterday, but I ended up trading Juan Soto from the Padres. Who knows who I may deal today? I mean, it could get wild. And I warned you that could happen without Woods here to rein me in a little bit over 4 hours.
Hot takes just flowing.
They just spew.
My God.
Somehow Woods has the effect of just tamping down my worst sports proclivities when he's here.
Right.
Just balancing
Maybe
me out.
his takes are so bad that you look tame.
We balance each other out, which is why I thought it would be important maybe to get the show off to a better start today.
I agree.
And help us out with our Foreplay segment. The king of Foreplay, the one and only Stephen Woods, is on our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad
It's not the worst
fan
nickname,
hotline.
the king of Foreplay.
The king of Foreplay. Well, I mean, it makes it sound as though he's not a finisher. If he's just the king of Foreplay, then what happens after that? But the king of Foreplay is here. Good morning, King.
What the hell is the matter with you? What happened yesterday? Good Lord.
Dude.
I was getting text. I was getting DM. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I can't leave for a day.
Dude,
I told
I
everybody.
tried, man. I tried to reel him in.
I told everybody it was going to happen. I knew it would. So you're back. You don't have to be with us the whole show, but I thought maybe just getting Woods here at the start could keep me from going off the rails so much.
Excuse me. I miss you guys. Paulie, happy birthday, number one.
Thanks, buddy.
Bobo, say happy birthday to Paulie. There he is.
Yeah.
We are chilling right now in Chicago, and I don't know. I'm so tired. Yesterday was such a long travel day, but we made it, and the weather's perfect, and it's wild, man. It's wild. Went back to the old stomping grounds where I used to live and work, and everything is gone. Everything that. Like the bar I used to work at is at Urban Outfitters right now. I was so mad. I was like, what is going on? I was like, well, let's go to the next one. Nope, that's gone too. The building I used to live in, like a CVS, is now attached to it. It's wild. I mean, it's just totally wild. It's changed so much, but we are having a blast so far. So far, so good on our end.
What's the weather like in the Windy City this morning?
Dude, 66 and sunny, not a cloud in the
Nice.
sky. I mean, it is just perfect. We probably walked 7 miles yesterday. This poor kid. You don't think like I pulled up this app to get like an Uber that has a car seat in it, and we were going to take just a short drive, maybe a mile. They wanted to charge me $132. I was like, all right, we're walking, bud. You can do one more mile. You're fine. I went full Ben.
$140 to add a car seat?
Yeah. It was like the total trip was going to be $140
Jesus.
to get this special Uber with the car seat. I was like, forget it, dude. We're walking. So it's tough. It's tough to get around, a little bit with a little guy. So we're going to try the train today and some of that stuff. We're going to go up to Loyola, and Bo's like, cool, let's just go see all the places you used to live. That's super, super fun, what I wanted to do. But
Is that the L?
as long as we're going to take the L, but as long as he gets to swim in the pool at the end of the day, he's happy. He was very happy.
Don't they have
that.
more
So
kid-friendly activities in Chicago, like amusement parks or things that you can take Bo to do that he might actually enjoy doing on your trip?
So there's Navy Pier, which is this giant pier. It's got all kinds of kid stuff, and I mean, there's a ton to do. It's such a great walking city. So he really kind of flipped out when he saw Michigan Avenue and all the cars and people. He was like, "This is unbelievable." So he told me yesterday, he's like, "I like history," and he wanted to go see. I showed him the water tower, which is the only building that survived the fire of 1871, I think. And he was like, he just couldn't believe it. He's like, "Wait, so there was a fire everywhere?" I'm like, "Yes, this is everything burned but this." So he really is kind of into that stuff too, which is kind of cool. But dude, we're having a ball. I've forgotten how much I love this city. I really have. It's a great city and so much to do. It's beautiful. I mean, aesthetically, it's just beautiful, and everything's green. It's fall in the Midwest, so it's not too shabby.
I really want to ask what you guys did for dinner last night. I know you're not a big deep dish guy, but there's Chicago hot dogs. There's beef sandwiches. But I'm guessing you probably just DoorDash to the hotel because that's what Woods tends to do.
No, I did not.
We went to Chipotle and
No, we went to a place called Dublin's, which is Irish. It's an Irish pub, but it's not like Irish food really. It's strange. I used to spend a lot of time there, and they were amazing. They took care of both. But so basically, what I'm saying is, I took my 5-year-old to his first bar ever. So that was fun. But the food was really good. I had like an Italian dish that I used to eat a long time ago. I'm really into the look back, you know what I mean? I'm really into
nostalgia. Absolutely.
Yeah, nostalgia. Yeah, 100%. So it's weird. It's like it was wild walking around some of these places where God knows what I was up to, you know, when I was here 25 years ago. But walking around with Bo's pretty cool. And so yeah, I took him to a bar and we had some dinner and came back here. All he wants to do, he's already going to be wearing me out about going swimming. There's an indoor pool here at the hotel. It's pretty cool, but he is like, that's all he wants to do. I'm like, dude, we did not fly halfway across the country for you to swim. That's it. So I'm using it as a bribe. If you're good, you can swim today, okay? What? he just woke up. Halfway across the country. We fly.
You guys up like a high rise with a good view? What's out the window?
Yeah, we're on the 23rd floor.
I love that.
Yeah, we are looking out. I know, dude. It's so cool. So does he. We're looking out just over the city. We got the city view. We didn't get the lake view. Dad did not pop for the lake view. Maybe I'm turning into Ben, and Ben is turning into me. I don't know what the hell's going on. But so what happened yesterday? You tried to trade Juan Soto on us. Guy goes out, hits a bomb. Padres got the Dodgers looking like they're in October form already. So
can I defend myself for a second? Because everyone seems to
you don't have to defend yourself.
Everyone misinterprets this. I was trading Juan Soto not because I didn't like Juan Soto. I was trading him because he's the guy who has trade value on the San Diego Padres, and it's otherwise you're basically just going to be bringing back the same team probably minus Blake Snell and Josh Hader next year. But I mean, unless you're going out and signing another mega free agent, which I don't see happening, and you want to make any meaningful changes to a team that is 9 games under 500, who else is it going to be? And I decided that it probably would have to be Juan Soto if you're going to do that. So yeah, it's not that I don't think he's good. I think he's the best player. I think he's the guy who has the most value on the San Diego Padres, where you could actually make some meaningful changes for the team next year.
You know, the Hall, well, I mean, it's a year rental basically, and if they do it in the off season, right? Somebody's going to give up. You know, I just don't see the return. I'd rather just re-sign the guy. I mean, he looks so good right now and locked in. And speaking of locked in, man, I gotta give credit to Blake. Only 1 walk last night, dominated a good team. That was a fun one, you know. It sucks. I mean, everyone that's playing the best right now is like, all right, we'll see you guys later, or I got 1 more year left on my deal. I mean, it's really, really tough. But hey, man, I'll take 2 or 3 from from LA anytime.
Yeah,
anytime,
doesn't happen very often, obviously. And
doesn't happen very often, especially there. And
we'll talk about it, but I thought with Blake, I think it was AJ Cassavel's note that really I thought drove it home that Blake Snell was given the choice. If he wanted, he's been pitching a lot lately.
Yes.
If he wanted to take one extra day, which would be 2 because of the off day today, they said, you know what, you deserve this. You want to face the Oakland A's in your next start, and, one of the worst teams in baseball, or do you want to pitch on 4 days rest, regular turn, and go against the Dodgers? And he said, give me the Dodgers.
I love it.
I mean, and then goes out, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. If that's not a Cy Young statement right there, as much as you can make for a team that's, not in playoff contention, that's about the biggest statement I think that you can make in trying to secure that Cy Young award.
I thought that was really cool as well. I mean, we're grasping for small victories here at the end of the year, but like I said, anytime you take 2 or 3 at their house, it feels pretty good. It does. It gets them a little bit. It gets them a little bit feeling a little bit unsure about the next few weeks, as they usually do in October, and I can't blame them. But no, I mean, yes, buddy. Yes, we can. I'm on the phone though, as you know.
Wants to go swimming. Everyone. It's time for swimming already.
He wants to go back to the water tower, which is basically just this old brick building.
I was gonna say, who does both think the Padres should trade over the offseason?
Bo, who do you want to trade in the offseason? Not real quick on his feet. He'll learn. He's fine. So yeah, man, I'm glad to be here. I miss you guys, of course. I miss doing the show, but. Glad to be here. Ben, you can't, there's really nobody else. There's no other hot takes you can make today, right?
No, we're probably trading Ha-Seong Kim today, so yeah, don't worry.
Today's Kim's day.
Today will be Kim's day after yesterday was Soto's day. I've got hot takes galore for sure, so no worries about that.
Amy Trask, I saw is coming on. I'm so jealous.
I know.
Give her my love.
This is our final show of the week, so we gotta talk a little football, get everybody ready for the weekend. That's going to be, obviously, you're going to be at the Notre Dame game against Central Michigan on Saturday, and we'll look forward to all the rest of the stories from your trip and from the game in South Bend on Monday morning. You are going to be back on Monday morning, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the good Lord willing, I'll be back on Monday morning. But yeah, I'll be. As soon as we land, I have to get in the car and go straight to T-ball practice.
Oh my!
I know, dude. And then yeah, I'll be in Monday. Paulie, happy birthday!
Thanks,
love
buddy.
You. We love you, and couldn't do what we do. We would not be who we are without you, man. So have a great birthday. Tell Megan to celebrate you.
Thanks for foreplaying with us. I know what you mean.
Speaking of foreplay,
we know what you mean.
Return the favor.
In fact, we know.
Return the favor.
In fact, I'm going to be doing your real or fake that you wanted me to do today. That we know exactly what you mean today. I'll just give that a little bit of a tease for an hour from now.
If you're listening right now, you are going to want to be here at about 7:05, 7:10 this morning. This sexual deviant.
It's not
over
me.
Here
It's
to my
Wood.
right.
I'm blaming Woods on this one. He sent this one to me.
Ben.
So.
See, this is way more Ben than me. Trust me.
All right, take care, buddy. We'll see you on Monday.
See you guys.
See ya.
There he is, the king of foreplay. Paul even made a quick graphic saying king of foreplay on our YouTube stream.
It's the truth.
Stephen Woods checking in. Hey, we're now through 15 minutes of this show already. That was amazing. See, he kills time like no other. Somehow it flows out of him.
Coming up next, we'll get to our daily Ditty. We'll head out to Chicago. We'll check in with Stephen Woods.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep it coming back. Maybe he can join us 3 or 4 times the rest of the show. No, actually, we do have a busy show. As Woodsy mentioned, we are going to have Amy Trask on, one of our absolute favorites, former Raiders executive, now TV host, podcaster, talks everything about the NFL from a very high-level perspective. The Princess of Darkness, Amy Trask, will be with us at 8 o'clock. It's a Smart Baseball Thursday. Eno Sarris has his regular feature with us at 8:35. And since we are going to be taking tomorrow off, young Braden's going to be in for us tomorrow. Craig Elsten is advancing his Crossing Streams segment to a Thursday. So if you're looking for some streaming television recommendations, he always has good ones. He's going to join us at 7:35 this morning. So a very busy day on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Paulie's birthday. Let's make it a fun one. Good show. Welcome to everybody in the YouTube stream, everybody on Twitch, everybody on the Odyssey app, everybody listening on the actual radio. There's a lot of ways you can consume this show. We'll be here until 10 o'clock, get our first check of traffic with Kelly, then come back. Birthday boy with the Daily Ditty selection to wrap up our 90s country theme for the week. Early flub for Ben on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, you asked for some Shania Twain recently. You got it.
Thank you for picking it on your birthday. No
Oh,
less.
man. Happy to do it.
You're still
She
the
is-
one by Shania Twain.
Oh, she is just, she is something else. Love this song. Love a lot of her songs.
An appropriate way.
And an iconic woman in 90s
I mean, especially
country.
in the 90s. 90s country is the theme. Shania Twain is a great way to wrap it all up. 2 weeks of a theme. The first time we've ever had
Yeah.
a 2-week theme on the Daily Ditty.
You know what? I wouldn't hate it if we went for
Third
a third
week.
week, but maybe we switch it up. I don't know.
We'll
It's
see
up
what
to,
happens on Monday.
It'll be up to you.
Oh, is it back to me on Monday? Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I'll
you're
think
next.
about it.
So it'll be up
Might
to
be
you.
time to switch it. We can always go back. Who knows? You never know. I did want to, in addition to wishing Paulie a happy birthday, I did also want to give a shout out to my other work colleagues over at Channel 10. We are celebrating really all month long, but yesterday was the big day. The 70-year anniversary of the birth of Channel 10 as a television station. They've been doing look-backs all month on TV, but we actually had 70.
Wow.
Yeah, so they started way back in the day. They weren't the ABC station. They started as the NBC affiliate
Okay.
in San Diego. And then a few years later, actually, I think it was late in the 1950s or very early in the 1960s, we moved into the building where we are currently located. You may have seen it if you're ever driving on the 94 just east of downtown. We have our famous obelisk that says KGTV going up into the sky. You see it right next to the 94 where the 805 meets there. And they built that. It was called Broadcast City. And at the time, it was the most technologically advanced broadcast facility in America, both home for radio and television, like state-of-the-art studios. Everything was like engineered just to do live and local broadcasting and television right there at Broadcast City. Now, as you can imagine, it is no longer the most state-of-the-art facility in America, being that we've been there for 6 decades without moving, but they've upgraded over the years and made some improvements. But it's amazing being in a historic building. Like Regis Philbin broadcasted there as like a young, just getting started broadcaster in the world of
That's
of
insane.
television. We had Regis Philbin in the same studios, and I'm obviously honored. I've been there for almost a quarter of that time, more than a quarter of that time, more than 20 years. I have worked in that building and. My capacity as a sportscaster at Channel 10. So they're doing a lot of the celebrations and looking back, bringing in some of the Carol LeBeau, and they did a big piece bringing her back with Kimberly Hunt. They were the first ever all-female news broadcasting team in America, and they were together for I think more than 15 years as our main duo in the evenings. And they brought Carol back. She's been in retirement. Some of the other old weathercasters that we've had and have all been coming back and sharing stories, and it's been really fun. One of the most fun promotions and nostalgic look-backs that we've done, I think, in the time that I've been there. So just congratulations to all my colleagues.
Absolutely. Well done.
I don't know. Do you think
Here's to 70
Do you think 97.3 The Fan will still be here? And but how old? The station's a little over 5 years old, right? 6 years old, maybe.
Yeah, about 6.
So
I'd
in
say.
64 years, will 97.3 The Fan still be around? We'll still be in this building on the 6th floor talking about the Padres trying to win their first World Series title here in the year 2091 or whatever it is, 2089. Will the Padres finally get it done after a century and a half of futility?
Break down their newest draft pick, Ryan Weathers the fourth.
I have no idea. My
Things
guess
keep
would
going
be
the way they are. I can see another 64
my
years
guess
for
would
the
be
Fan.
probably not, but they keep predicting the demise of local television and over the air radio. Like, oh, it's gonna die. Streaming and the new methods of broadcasting are gonna kill it all. But like everything else, we've adapted a little bit on the radio. Obviously, you can get us many ways with the app and streaming, and ultimately, I think this industry is actually thriving. At least the parts of it that have embraced the changes.
Right.
I think it's absolutely thriving because people, whether it's local TV or local radio, people in your community will always need local content that's directed toward them. It's just better than national content. National content's fine, but you live
There's a place for it. But...
but you absolutely, it's essential to have local content. And however you're getting that local content, you want something. And I think what's great about this show in the morning, and we've built a community of tier ones and of people with similar interests, Padres, things that are going on in the community. You want as many people to be sharing that as possible.
100%.
It's one of the things, we've been talking about our ratings lately, and we're just blessed the success that we've had. But part of that is when you all also know that other people are listening, that makes you want to listen more, right?
Right.
I don't want to miss.
So.
I don't want to miss out on Venom Woods because that's what other people are going to be talking about this morning. So it's got this ball rolling down the hill, boulder rolling down the hill.
You don't want to miss any flubs like this one.
To wrap up our 90s country theme for the week. Feel like that's a word I've tripped up on before.
Probably.
Country. 90s country. That's a tough one. I don't know why. So, kind of a fun week of nostalgia, like Woods just talking about his nostalgia. Everyone likes kind of looking back for some reason. It's good. You don't want to don't live in the past.
No, but you can appreciate it and look back.
You take a moment here or there, a day, a week, whatever, to remember whether it's a collective past or your own personal past like Woods is doing in Chicago. I think most of us enjoy that trip down memory lane.
100%.
Yeah. Paul, you've got now what, 30? Did you say 32 or 33? I've forgotten already.
I was 32 yesterday.
Yeah, so now you're 33 today. So you're a third of the way to 100 years old, essentially.
God, I hope not. Don't want to make it that low.
I mean, you can do your trip down memory lane if you're past 33 years. We can do a montage of Paul's life later in the show. Can you put that together for yourself?
Yeah, let me just do that. It'd be very boring.
All right, we'll get to our Padres wrap-up coming up next. They actually won a series against the Dodgers, and outside the postseason last year, that's a real rarity. Has not happened very much. We will talk about yesterday's performance by Blake Snell. And the Padres taking 2 out of 3 at Dodger Stadium. We'll do that coming up next here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by BalancePro.org. Are you worried about the rising costs of managing your home expenses? Balance can help you decide if a refinance is right for you. Help you avoid predatory lending. Call to schedule an appointment at 1-888-456-2227 or visit BalancePro.org. I hate to give people false hope at this late stage of the season. But the Padres did just take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers on the road. And
if you're giving anybody false hope, then
yesterday,
I'm sorry, but they're a sucker. Like,
yesterday,
who out there is clinging on to hope? Well, it's not over yet.
Well, so yesterday when I checked the standings, and they have the playoff odds at the end of the standings at ESPN.com, it said for the Padres, as well as like the Cardinals and the Pirates and the Mets and the Nationals, who haven't been eliminated officially yet, but are so far out of it, it has that little less than symbol, and then it's 0.1%. So somewhere, some infinitesimal number, like below 0.1%, are the actual playoff chances. Like it would take a Powerball-esque, like lottery win for all the things necessary to come together to make the playoffs. I looked again this morning. They took the less than sign away from the Padres' playoff chances. It is now officially back up to 0.1%.
Continue planning the parade.
0.1% playoff chances for your San Diego Padres. They're not done yet, people. So they head to Oakland to face the A's. But, hey, you know what? If you enjoyed last night's game, I don't blame you. It was an enjoyable win for your San Diego Padres. We'll get to our...
What is their record now?
For the whole season?
Padres?
They are 69-78.
Thank you.
What were you looking for there? We'll get to our Padres wrap-up right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the premier auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Traffic is sponsored by Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air conditioning company. Got a collision on the northbound side of the 15 just before Carroll Canyon. Several vehicles, including a work van, involved in this one. It's got the fast lane blocked. Looking for the best in HVAC? Choose Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air company with free diagnostics on all repairs and estimates. See why over 1,100 happy customers have given Air Max 5-star Yelp reviews. See Air Max today at airmax.com. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I love winning, man. I love winning. You hear what I'm saying? It's like better than losing.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Miss any of yesterday's Padres game?
Did you catch a game last night?
Well, we've got you covered.
Thank you.
It's the Padres Wrap-Up with Ben and Woods.
Let's go! It's our house right here, baby!
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
That is the ball game, and that is a winner. This about damn time. 0-2 hit in the air to deep right field. Mookie Betts going back. Gonna watch. Gonna go. Number 30 for Juan Soto. Into the right field pavilion. And the Padres take a 1-0 lead here in the first inning. Here's the 0-2. Cameo delivers, and Campusano hits it in the air. Deep to left field. Taylor's back at the wall, looking up. Gonna go! 3-run homer, Luis Campusano. First time in the cleanup spot, and he does just that. 4-0 Padres in the fourth.
That is how you clean up, ladies and gentlemen.
First pitch on the way, and Fernando swings, loops one into shallow right center field. That's going to get down for a base hit. Cooper has scored. Here comes Grisham. A 2-run single for Tatis against Joe Kelly, and a 6-0 Padre lead. And the 1-2 pitch is swung on, hit in the air, deep down the right field line, towards the pole, and this one gonna go. Second home run as a Dodger for Colton Wong. There will be no shutout here tonight, and the Padre lead is 6-1 in the bottom of the ninth. Left-hander set, the pitch, and a swing and a miss. Martinez strikes out to end the game, and Blake Snell and the Padres come to Los Angeles and take 2 out of 3 Padres win a series from the Dodgers for the first time since June of 2021, and Blake Snell lowers his league-leading ERA to 2.43.
Yeah, he struggled with the first hitter. Walked the first guy. That's all he walked today. When he limits his walks and he's got more strikeouts than innings, he seems to be on a little bit of a mission. So, this late in the season, be throwing as hard as he does, and all 4 pitches working like that. He's a tough customer to deal with when he's got them all working.
We talked about it before. Even on his better days, Blake Snell can sometimes be a tough watch for Padres fans because of all the walks and the stress of the runners on base the whole game, but not last night. Last night was as good as it gets from Blake Snell. I mean, it's his typical 6 innings. He didn't go further than that, but yeah, bloop single by Mookie Betts.
I bet he probably could have. I bet he could have given you one more.
Yeah,
about 80. What did he finish with? 86?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think they could have gone out there, but only bad things could have happened at that point.
Not suggesting they should have. I'm saying he could have.
It would have
in a different scenario with the Padres, in the race, needing that win, close ball game. I can see him going out there for the 7th.
Had he not given up
91.
Yeah, had he not given up that bloop single to Mookie Betts, which seemed like it hung up there forever on the first batter of the game, and I thought it was going to get caught. Just on watching on television, you go, oh, that's a routine out, but it just couldn't, just right between Juan Soto and Trent Grisham, and neither of them got there particularly quickly, and it ended up falling in. And if that hadn't happened and he had a no-hitter, then I think you definitely let him keep going and see what he can do, because really, what is the Cy Young? Winning the Cy Young is, yes, it's about having good stats, but it's also about crafting a narrative for the season. And you're convincing voters. You're not convincing an algorithm, or, you're not plugging in a formula to see who wins the Cy Young Award. Eventually, ultimately, you're kind of convincing a group of writers, the Baseball Writers Association, the ones who have the vote on the Cy Young Award, to put your name on that ballot, in the number 1 slot. And like any human beings, they're going to be somewhat influenced by a good narrative. And, Blake Snell has kind of the arguments in favor of him. And I think Justin Steele of the Cubs is going to, his backers are going to point to his record and the fact that the Cubs are in a playoff chase. And, that's valid. That's a decent part of the argument. So Blake Snell just needed something on his side. And I thought,
we talked about it yesterday heading into the game. Like that was his last real test. I don't know where he's at, where his next start or two are going to be for the rest of the season. But that on the road against the Dodgers, that was his last big test for his resume.
So the last 2 starts in particular, to me, they were the narrative crafting starts.
I agree with that.
Pitching against legitimate playoff teams down the stretch on the road, going into Houston, and while he didn't dominate, he beat the Astros, and then go and dominate the LA Dodgers. Plus, as we mentioned earlier, doing so, and, it's not a coincidence that AJ Cassavell, that story gets out, that, Blake Snell was given the choice. Do you want to face the Dodgers, or would you you've earned it, we'll give you a little extra rest. You can go on Friday against the Oakland A's in front of 2,000 people and a team that was no hit into the 9th inning yesterday. You can go ahead and just build up great numbers against the A's. And he said, no, give me the Dodgers. Now, that's great narrative. That's great storytelling right there when you're trying to convince some voters, when you don't have the playoff argument. Your team's not in it down the stretch. You need something else. And Blake Snell just gave it to the writers. He also has, if you're looking for narrative, the stretch that he's on. I saw it last night. I trying to find the tweet that had the numbers, but essentially he's the first, his stretch of his last 20 starts with an ERA, what is it, like about 1.5, is the longest, best stretch by any pitcher ever. Like even Pedro Martinez at his prime.
Wow.
He threw in a bad one at some point in 20 starts. And Blake Snell has been so good since the start of May. It's like historical levels. For me, I think that makes it easier for voters to put Blake Snell's name down as well. They look, yeah, he had a bit of a rough April, but that's so long ago. Who's been the best pitcher the last 5 months in baseball? There's no question it's been Blake Snell. Like, no question in anybody's mind that Blake Snell has
Didn't
been the
have a
best
hot
pitcher.
September to get back into the race.
It's been consistently
dominant.
phenomenal over the course of the year. Justin Steele also, and it doesn't reflect in his ERA, but he's given up 12 more runs than Blake Snell. A lot of them were unearned, but they did score. They came in terms of preventing runners from getting across home plate. Blake Snell has really done it better than any other starting pitcher in baseball this year. So I think you've got a lot of really good arguments now in favor of Blake Snell. Both guys have, I think, 3 more starts. Justin Steele will go tomorrow against the Arizona Diamondbacks in his next start. Obviously, 2 wild card chasing teams, and that'll be one that a lot of people are looking at. He'll basically need to match what Blake did yesterday to kind of keep up in the wild card race or in the Cy Young race, because if the Diamondbacks hand him a bad outing, you can pretty much start crossing a name off. Zach Gallen had a rough outing yesterday against the New York Mets. Pretty much crosses his name if he was still on that list.
I don't even know that he was still there
for the Cy Young, but you can pretty much cross his name after a rough start. He got beaten by Joey Lucchesi, got called up for the Mets, and they kind of took Zach Gallen to town yesterday. So,
but you think he locked it up last night, Snell?
No, because there are 3 more starts, and if Snell gives up 9 earned runs the rest of the way and Steele gives up 1 earned run, then the numbers will shift enough that it's not over yet. But now I think Blake Snell has got a lead in the clubhouse that is going to be difficult to overcome in the last 3 starts of the year.
So he's probably looking at a Rockies. Snell play the Rockies next week.
Yep.
And then either the Giants or the White Sox if they push him back.
So yeah, he'd start probably he'd probably start the middle game maybe against the Rockies next week, and either the last game against the Giants or they said I saw that he could start 3 more, but maybe they only do 2 more starts for Blake Snell. Maybe. If he's ahead, maybe you kind of cruise in. Well, it's like Ted Williams the last day of the season. Be interesting if Blake Snell is scheduled to pitch the last day of the year, but if he's got the ERA lead and everything else, do you sit on that and go, I'm good. I'm just gonna not risk a bad start.
Feeling a little tight.
Or like Ted Williams, who I think he was hitting over 400, and they said, "Do you want to just sit today, last day of the year? Guarantee the 400." And he goes, "No, I'll play." And he got I think it was a doubleheader, and he got like 7 hits and ended up hitting 406 or something instead of 400. So we'll see if that happens at the end of the season. He's got a decision to make.
I'm excited to watch the race for the Cy Young Award. I want Snell to get it. I like Blake Snell. I can understand that there is a part of the fan base that either doesn't care or is disinterested in it or just flat out is like, whatever. Like, he's not going to be here anymore. But I still think it's important. I think it's a good thing for the Padres to have a Cy Young winner. I think that stays in your franchise's history forever. And quite frankly, like, we've had this argument back and forth for the last couple of weeks. What do you want to see from the Padres for the rest of this year? What are you looking for? Do you want them to show fight, or do you want them to lose every game from here on out through the end of the year and have a bad taste in their mouth? I think they've already got the bad taste in their mouth. I am looking for them to show a little bit of fight heading into the offseason. And I do think Blake Snell winning the Cy Young Award, Tatis winning the Gold Glove out in right field, those are just little victories that we can at least grab onto. And be like,
I mean,
right,
we talked about the the benefit of tanking, and if you can get into the bottom 6, you get to keep that draft pick as opposed to getting knocked 10 slots down. I really don't think that's going to happen. You look at the remaining schedule. You just mentioned it. It's A's, Rockies.
3 against the A's, 3 against the Rockies, 3 against the Cardinals, 3 against the Giants, 3 against the White Sox.
I mean, the Giants are the only team with anything to play for left on the Padres schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, the Padres would have to, not just tank, but they'd have to be the tankiest tankers that have ever tanked.
Completely mail it in.
To really have anything worse than like a game or 2 under 500. You'd have to play so poorly because, remember, you're going to be going against other teams that also have an incentive to tank a little bit at the end of the season. Just the ultimate tank off the last couple of weeks. And as we just saw, they took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers on the road. They're not in tank mode. They didn't play Manny Machado or Xander Bogaerts yesterday. Gave both of those guys a day off and still went out and won 6-1. And they're not going to tank on days when Blake Snell starts for sure. You know, we just said he's going to get at least 2, if not 3 more starts in the last 15. So, yeah, tanking seems to be off the table. Might as well just play as well as you can these last couple of weeks. And, you know, I don't believe in carrying any momentum or anything into next season. We'll have all forgot about these last weeks by the time spring training rolls around. But
whether they lose the rest of their games or win the rest of their games, going into spring training next year, it's going to be, how do we not repeat the absolute epic failure of 2023?
As you said, though, I've heard the argument, well, I don't want him to win the Cy Young. That's just going to, raise the price tag, make it harder for the Padres to re-sign. The tea leaves are pointing toward the fact the Padres aren't going to re-sign Blake Snell
price
anyway.
Is going to be what it is.
You might as well let him jack up the price as much as possible.
And Julio Urias getting outed as a scumbag for the second time. Those are much more impactful on Blake Snell's value in free agency than winning the Cy Young Award.
He's going to be expensive either way. So, yeah, I think Cy Young stand forever. Randy Jones is the testament to that. They belong to your organization. And while, yes, there'll be a tinge of bittersweetness knowing it's coming right at the end of Blake Snell's tenure. And, God, wouldn't this have been better a couple of years ago, when Blake was, we still had a chance in a playoff run? Sure, of course. It's not the ideal circumstance that you win a Cy Young for a guy who's a free agent and leaving your organization. I still think it's better than not winning the Cy Young. So, yeah, I'll be pulling for Blake on that one. One other statistical note here. You heard the Juan Soto 30th home run. This one from ESPN Stats and Info. So this is Juan Soto's second career 30-homer, 100-walk season. He's the 6th player in MLB history with multiple 30-homer, 100-walk seasons before turning 25, joining Ted Williams, Mel Ott, Mickey Mantle, Eddie Matthews, and Jimmy Fox.
I've heard of those guys.
There are no outliers there. There's no a few of those guys are good, but then a couple of them went on to do nothing. Nope, there's no outliers. There are no players who have ever done what Juan Soto has done at this stage in their career and not gone on to be absolute legend Hall of Famers the rest of their career.
So do you want to walk back that BS that you were spewing yesterday?
No. I stand by the BS I was spewing yesterday,
okay.
100%.
All right.
But the part of that was that, yes, Juan Soto is fantastic, and he remains a terrific baseball player. All right, we'll come back. As we teased it earlier, we've got a spicy game of real or fake, chance to qualify a listener for a trip to Las Vegas coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back. Hour number 2, Ben and Paul with you on a Thursday. Padres with their first series win in the regular season over the Dodgers since 2021. Dodgers had won 12 straight series against your San Diego Padres. And, of course, this one comes in a meaningless September series. And, it's meaningless for the Padres. Also, actually, we talked about it yesterday, fairly meaningless for the Dodgers as they're not going anywhere in the NL West or National League playoff race other than the second seed. Atlanta's almost clinched the first seed already. It would take the comeback it would take for the Padres to get to the playoffs would almost need to be happening for the Dodgers to catch the Braves at this point for the first seed. And it would also take something crazy like that for Milwaukee to catch the Dodgers for the second seed. So they're basically locked into the number 2 seed.
It's over.
And they're just getting ready for the postseason. So it really was a meaningless series, but still feels good to take 2 out of 3 and at least end that skid. Didn't talk about Luis Campusano's 3-run homer on an 0-2 pitch against Ryan Pepio there in the 4th inning. A nice second half of the season for Luis Campusano. If you're looking for silver linings, if you're looking for reasons to be even a little bit optimistic about 2024, I think you start in a lot of ways with Luis Campusano and take a position that the Padres had basically been a black hole in the first half of the season. And you can say fairly confidently that the Padres are in decent shape. Now, be in more decent shape if they bring back Gary Sanchez and they get that tandem back for next season. But just starting with Luis Campusano, knowing he's under team control and will be back and have this second half of the season to build off of in 2024, puts them ahead of a lot of other teams behind the plate at the catching position just right now, which is fantastic. And that's not even talking about the future with Eno Sarris in the minor leagues, giving the Padres some riches behind the plate now in their organization that other teams could only dream of, which is weird because it's been such a weakness for the Padres. And now, even behind Sarris, the Padres have some 2 or 3 decent catching prospects down in the minor leagues. They've got some depth in the organization. If you were looking for those under-the-radar trades that might be made, that's an area of strength now in the minor leagues that the Padres might be able to deal from, knowing, if Campy stays healthy, they've got him for team control for several more seasons, likely until Salas comes up. You're not looking like you need a ton of those catching prospects that other teams will be salivating over. You might be able to fill some of your holes by trading away not even your top prospects, but just some of the catching depth you have in your organization now.
Tell me more about filling holes.
Filling holes? Are you just taking me out of context into some giant segment?
I'm just repeating what you said, my friend.
They're filling some holes in their organization that they need to be filled. So that was good. Robert Suarez looked good last night. Anyone worried that he was just a product of sticky stuff and whatever he was doing that led to the 10-game suspension? He's come off of that 10-game suspension. He's either more surreptitious about his sticky stuff or he didn't really need it in the first place because he's thrown very well his last couple of outings and looked again to be very solid last night in the 7th inning, striking out the side against the Dodgers.
No, I think it is kind of crazy how the Padres, over the years, there's been years they've carried 3 catchers at a time, 4 if you counted, Christian Bethancourt, who was a hybrid. AJ Preller has loved catchers, and none of them have worked out. None of them have worked out, except for, it looks like, Luis Campusano. I've loved what I've seen from Campy in 2023. I can't wait to see him build on that in 2024. I would love to see them go out and try to, bring back Gary Sanchez. I think he's been one of the very few highlights of the entire season. But I like that combination moving forward of Campy and Sanchez, at least until Salas is ready.
Yeah, it was fun to see him batting cleanup yesterday. That was the highest in the order he's ever been, and came through with a giant hit for the Padres yesterday. So, yeah, just silver lining here, second half of the season, definitely Luis Campusano. Need a contestant for real or fake? Going to play our game here in a couple of minutes. If you want to call us, get online, 833-288-0973, 097.3. No musical trivia, just separating real from fake for a chance to win a getaway to Las Vegas coming up. The wild card races continue to be very tight. Now, as we get to just over 2 weeks left in the season, the Arizona Diamondbacks lost to the Mets yesterday, as I mentioned, which means the Cincinnati Reds now have moved into a tie. They have the tiebreaker with a win over the Tigers yesterday. They now hold the third wild card spot, but they are tied with the Diamondbacks. And you actually look at it, the Reds, Diamondbacks, Giants, and Marlins are all tied with 71 losses. The Giants and Marlins have played one fewer game, so they have one fewer win. They're both a half game behind, but essentially in the loss column, the thing that matters, the thing you can't take away any losses, they're all tied right now. And it's going to be a good race to the end of the season. I did a quick look at the schedules this morning just to see if like one of them stood out, like is so much easier than the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. I mean, they all kind of have a mix of tougher games and easier games. The Reds may have the easiest looking schedule, and they're in the best position at this point. So if you want to give a slight edge maybe to Cincinnati in that race, you can do so. The American League race, 2 teams going to make it, 1 team going to be out. Right now the Rangers have a half-game lead over the Mariners, and then the Blue Jays are another game back. They're currently out of the wild card position. They got stopped. That was a big one yesterday for the Texas Rangers. 10-0 win over the Blue Jays, while the Mariners beat the Angels 3-2. So just a tiny bit of separation there in the American League wild card race. But I think this is good for baseball. The more teams you have fighting for a playoff spot at the end, last couple of weeks of the season, it just keeps more fan bases interested in the game when there are obviously other fan bases that don't have a lot to play for. So I think the wild card has done its part. I think they've kind of found the rights. We saw the year in the pandemic when they had 8 playoff teams. That was too many. But I think what they have right now, the 6 playoff teams,
really got it dialed in right now.
Is where it needs to be. Yeah. And I don't want to see any more tweaking or changes. I think this is the playoff format that baseball should be sticking with for the foreseeable future. They've kind of dialed it in. You're not – everyone said, oh, you're going to get an 81-win playoff team. Hasn't really been the case. You still have to have a good season. You have to win 87 games to get to the playoffs usually.
Some of the wild card teams have been the most dominant, like gone on to win the World Series a lot of the times. Dude, everything is earned in the playoffs. You might squeak in as a wild card and be 85 and whatever, but like once you're in, you are beating the best of the best. And we see teams like the Phillies get to the World Series last year. We've had wild card teams win the World Series. I think the game's in a great spot.
I mean, in every sport, at least in this country, the playoffs are not about. I think there's a common belief that the playoffs are about crowning the best overall team, and it's not really the case. The best overall team is the one that won the regular season. They probably are the most well-rounded team, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. The team that's the deepest, the most consistent, like in European, in English soccer.
The Braves will be the best team of the regular season.
Yeah, and
if
they will
don't
never
win the World Series. It'll be an epic
The Braves
failure.
will be the best team of 2023 no matter what. Even if they lost in the wild card round, they will be the best team of 2023. You can't really take that away from them. The playoffs, though, are about crowning excellence under pressure, rising to the occasion under the brightest of spotlights. It's a worthy goal, and it's the one that we actually value more in this country than the sustained excellence. But they do it differently. Like in English soccer, they just crown the team in first place at the end of the year. There's no playoff. It's just that's your winner. That's your Premier League champion is the team in the first place at the table. And if they clinch with 4 games to go, guess what? It's over. There's no playoff coming up to determine who's going to be the champion. You can argue one way or the other is better, but the best team in baseball has already been crowned. It's the Atlanta Braves.
Right.
The World Series champion, that is yet to be determined. That's a totally different thing. We value World Series champion more. That's how we do it. But the team that was best in the regular season is the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, but
they're not going to be happy if they lose the World Series, obviously.
Then, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's like the Dodgers. They win the West. They win the West every year.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
Dodgers have been the best team in baseball several times in the last few years.
Lots of times.
But
you gotta
that's
win it
not
all.
what we value. Now you have to figure out a way to turn that into a great month and win a World Series.
I mean, college basketball, you go 32-0.
Oh yeah,
and
college
lose
basketball.
in the Sweet 16.
Of course, that's insane. It's insane. There's very rarely does the best team in college basketball actually win the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, right.
But it's crowning excellence over a period of time under pressure. In the games that we value the most at the end of the season. I think it's great. It's incredible theater, and what is sports if not entertainment? I think it's weird that they don't do a playoff in English soccer. It's strange. I mean, it's entertainment there too.
Yeah.
But they just say we don't need to do that. We don't need that.
I don't follow soccer very much. As you know, there's all these different tournaments. Like at least there is that level of what feels like a playoff match.
Yeah.
With all the different.
I see everyone calling in. It's 7-11. Let's get to it. It is time to play some real or fake.
Some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods. You can go plow through another donut. It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
First, I will tell you that Real or Fake is brought to you by Home Turf. Is it real or is it fake? Save time and water with pet-friendly, always green grass, and get a free consultation by calling the team at Home Turf at 888-4SD-TURF or go to sdhometurf.com. And let's bring on Robert. Like Robert or Bob?
Bob.
Bob it is. Bob, you are up today on Real or Fake. Good luck to you. If you can get at least 4 out of our 7 correct, you will qualify for our grand prize drawing in the month of September, a trip for 2 to the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and a private VIP pod at the Westgate Superbook with a $250 food and beverage credit. Experience high-action entertainment at the best race and sports book in Las Vegas. Best of Las Vegas winner, part of their $70 million room renovations as well at the Westgate. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, this is kind of like gambling. It's like a 50-50 coin flip on every choice of real or fake. So here's what we have for you today, Bob. Even though he's not here, Woods actually requested that I make this our real or fake topic for today.
Oh my God.
So he sent me a list of, well, the word is euphemisms. Like getting it on or doing the dirty deed. Except
Oh my God.
these are euphemisms for you know what that people used back in the 1800s. Some of them are real, some of them are fake. Like what did Mary and Josiah used to say when they were, headed into the back of the barn to what? These are euphemisms for that in the 1800s, and you got to decide what's real or fake. So, Bob, are you ready to play?
Oh my God.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, here we go. Round 1. Euphemisms from the 1800s. Foot chasing.
Whoa.
Real or fake? Foot chasing. Didn't know they had those fetishes back then. Foot chasing. Is it real or is it a fake euphemism, Bob?
Hey, can I get Paul's help on
No,
these?
Paul knows the
I already know
answers.
the
You're on
answer,
your
buddy.
own today, so you just have to flip a coin and make a guess. Real or fake?
All right. Foot chasing. I'll go real on that.
That one is? No, that one's fake. Not foot chasing. That's your 0 for 1, but that's okay. We got plenty
Fake.
of rounds
That means
left.
you came up with it.
Yeah, that one's fake.
Sick man.
I'm sorry. All right, let's go to round 2, Bob. Basket making. Basket making. Real or fake, Bob? A euphemism in the 1800s for you know what?
Let's go real.
That is real. Very good. You got 1. There's your ding. Basket making. I thought they were just making baskets, Paul, to carry their vegetables in from the farm. But no,
Okay.
Basket making was what they say. You want to go do some basket making? All right, round 3. Horse stalling. Horse stalling.
Horse stalling?
Horse stalling. Robert, real or fake?
Horse stalling. Let's go fake.
That is fake. Yeah, it doesn't sound that appealing. Even probably back then. Why would you go into the horse stall? You might land on a horse apple, and that would be bad. All right, so you got 2 right. You need 2 more, and you will be a winner today, Robert. Let's go to round 4. Butter churning. Butter churning. Real or fake, Robert?
Oh man, these are funny. Butter churning.
Butter churning.
My mind's telling me real, but I think I'm gonna say fake.
Oh, very clever. You know what? That one would have fooled me. I could have seen. Hey, you want to do some
Hey, young lady, you want to go butter churning later?
butter churning, Victoria?
Gotta churn the butter.
You got to churn that butter. No, that was a fake one. Very good. You are one away from winning. All right, here we
Bring it
go.
home.
Round 5. Face making. Face making, Robert. Real or fake?
Real.
It is real, Bob, you know your stuff. You know your 1800s euphemisms. Yeah, that one was, well, you know, if you do what you do and then you end up with a baby, they have a face, and you're doing face making
a new face.
in the 1800s. Very good. Let's see, we got a couple more if you want to play at home. Wheel spoking.
Wheel spoking.
Wheel spoking. That one is fake. And blanket hornpipe.
I don't even know.
I have no idea what that means. But yeah, that one's real.
Am I going to get in trouble for Googling blanket?
I don't know.
horn
Bob,
pipe?
hang on the line. During the break, Paulie will get all your information so we can make sure to get you into the drawing for the getaway to Las Vegas. So don't go anywhere. Congratulations, Bob. You have won today's game of Real or Fake. Euphemisms from the 1800s here on 97.3 The Fan.
Well done.
All right, Don't Do This is coming up next. We know if you're an athlete or a coach and you're at a press conference, you always need to be very careful what you say when you're up on the podium, because you never know who's rolling, whose camera might be on even before the start.
You got to be on the entire time.
But this also happens to apply if you're on the other side of the camera and the equation. Have that story for you coming up next on Don't Do This. That is coming up after a check of traffic. Don't go away. More Ben and Paul with you next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, let's get right to it because we got Craig Elsten coming up here at the bottom of the hour with an early Thursday Crossing Streams visit. And I will start, Paulie, in baseball with your hometown team, the Seattle Mariners, taking on the Los Angeles Angels last night.
Okay.
And the don't do this moment, and it's debatable, but it comes in the form of a decision by Angels manager Phil Nevin. An unorthodox baseball decision that ended up biting him in the butt last night. So the Angels had a 2-1 lead over the Mariners in the 5th inning.
Okay.
2 outs. Ty France is on first base. And the Angels are about to face one of the best players in baseball, hottest players of the second half of the season. Julio Rodriguez is coming to the plate. Phil Nevin decides to get kind of cute. And he orders an intentional walk of Julio Rodriguez with a runner at first base. So here's what he's done. He's forced the tying run to second. He's put the go-ahead run on first base. But he does avoid having to face Julio Rodriguez. Now, we don't know how it would have turned out had they faced Julio Rodriguez. We only know what did happen. And what did happen is that both guys came around to score, and it ended up being the difference in the game in a 3-2 win for the Mariners. So you put the winning run on base on an intentional walk when you didn't have a base open at first, and you ended up losing the game. Is that a don't do this, or do you still think Phil Nevin is justified just because Julio Rodriguez is so hot and you pitch to him and give up a 2-run homer there? You're going, well, you're an idiot. You should have pitched around him at the very least, because there are far less dangerous hitters in the Mariners lineup that you could go after than Julio Rodriguez.
I don't know. I think it's an easy one for him to argue for, like you just mentioned. Julio is
He is very hot. He's very hot.
I think you can intentionally walk somebody by just completely pitching around them.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't even give Julio a chance to swing at an outside, slider or something. You just put him on first and forced Ty France over to second.
It's the Angels. Like, what are they?
It's like when Barry Bonds was walked with the bases loaded and a 2-run lead, so you couldn't let him win the game against you at the end. I mean, it's there's arguments both ways. In this case, it backfired, so it gets a don't do this. Had it worked out and they got out of the inning and the Angels won the game, maybe it's a do this.
Yeah.
For Phil Nevin. Sometimes the outcome just dictates whether it's a good decision or not, unfortunately.
Always easy to look back in hindsight.
Yeah, it is easy. All right, this one I'm going to go half don't do this and then half do this.
Okay.
It involves a reporter for the Buffalo Bills. They were getting ready for their normal Wednesday afternoon news conference with Coach and Sean McDermott getting ready for the podium. But he wasn't there yet. They were just waiting around, as we tend to do in the media and press conferences. But apparently someone, there was an open audio channel, getting ready to stream it or
at the podium, the team has their microphone plugged in. Probably NFL Network has a microphone, and then all the reporters will put their cell phones on the podium.
And usually you don't turn it on until someone actually shows up and does something. But in this case, apparently one of the mics was already on and feeding it somewhere that people were able to hear. And what they heard was a female voice ripping Stephon Diggs, wide receiver for the Bills. Quote, "There's no control over Stephon Diggs. Dude's going to do what he wants to do. He'll look in my face and say, F you. That's how he treats everybody." So not a great look for an NFL reporter who's in that room, basically talking bad about one of the players she's covering behind their back. It raises some issues of impartiality and fairness, things like that. Now, you didn't know exactly who it was, but I'll give the do this to NFL reporter Maddie Glab.
DD Mega Doo-Doo.
She came right out. Now, she probably knew. Wouldn't take long for people to figure out who it was.
Sure.
Who's at the news conference, whose voice is that? And she very quickly tried to get ahead of it, going with a statement on social media. "I want to take ownership for what I said today. I'm very sorry for what I said and meant no ill will. I respect the hell out of Stephon Diggs, and he's been one of my favorite players to cover. He has great character and treats us media with lots of respect. He takes time out of his day to talk to us, which he doesn't have to do. For context, media was waiting for players." She kind of goes on and on in kind of the explanation and the apology.
So is he a good guy or not a good guy?
I don't know. I mean, it definitely the two statements are very different. For context, media was waiting for players to come out for a press conference when a reporter jokingly told me to go get Stephon Diggs. I said I didn't have control over him. Steph marches to a beat of his own drum. I love that about him. He has a playful relationship with our video department, so that's why I said he probably wouldn't say yes to me grabbing him for an interview. I should not have said what I said, and I apologize for that. Steph is not in the wrong. I am. I mean, you can...
Good for her for getting in front of it, I
You
guess.
can have negative opinions about people you cover.
Sure.
People are human. They do. Every reporter has been treated poorly by a coach or a player or a manager at some point and then said off the record to someone, that guy's a real jerk. Can't stand that guy. It happens all the time. This time it happened to be, in a moment caught on, you don't want it to get caught on tape. And it's embarrassing for a reporter to have it caught on tape like that. Right. So it's a don't do this, but I'll give her credit for at least coming out and whether or not the explanation is real or not. She sold it enough and owned it enough that I think this story is going to go away in a day or two and hopefully not come back to bite her too much in the end.
Yeah.
And that's Don't and Do This for a Thursday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, since our show is going to be off tomorrow, Craig Elsten has kindly been gracious enough to join us a day early for some crossing streams and Padres talk. Get to Craig coming up next here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Paul enjoys this one. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog, because he uses the Farmer's Dog.
I do. I love the Farmer's Dog.
He also likes hearing me say fresh, human-grade dog food delivered right to your door. From better poops to more energy, when you switch your dog's food to the Farmer's Dog, the effects can feel magical. What sorcery is this? Not at all. It's just real food made for the health of dogs. Get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/no-magic.
It's just a funny word.
I actually took my dogs in to get baths yesterday, and we don't do that very often. Usually we go to the self-wash place to wash the dogs, especially after like a trip to the beach.
I let the pros do it.
The perfect time is, but we haven't gone in a while because Reggie's getting so old. I don't know that he could handle a beach run anymore. So it had been a while, and we needed to get him out of the house for our ant spraying. So I took them to the groomer to get baths yesterday. It's expensive. It's like, it ended up being like $130 with tips for the two of them together.
Oh, yeah, for two.
Yeah, two dogs, two bigger dogs. I guess I expect that. But when I came back to pick them up, I mean, they're so excited to see me, it feels good. You must be liked. But you wonder, like, how much are they being tortured back there? Like, let us out of here, please.
Thank God you're back.
I thought you weren't ever coming back to get us. We were going to have to live here for the rest of our lives.
My dog does that if I leave for 10 minutes to go to the grocery store. So.
Oh, my God, he's back. He's back. He's back. I can't believe it. He's back. Every single time. They're funny. All right, Craig is standing by. We're going to get some crossing streams from him right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the premier auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, a 15-minute instant drive-thru oil change. They cleared that crash on northbound side of the 15 at Carroll Canyon. Now on the southbound side, getting reports of a vehicle fire before Center City Parkway. That is over to the right shoulder. Up ahead, getting a stalled vehicle out of the HOV lane right before Miramar Road. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change centers. You don't have to get out of your car. It usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for discounts and locations nearest you. Valvoline Oil Change centers are open 7 days a week. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And if you're on our YouTube stream, he's right there. I see him. If you are listening, I will introduce him. He is Craig Elsten, our Crossing Streams host. Soccer season is not far away, just a couple of months before they get going again as well. Always good to have Craig back with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning, Craig.
Morning, Ben. Morning, Paul. Thanks for having me on as always.
Actually, I saw two of your recent recommendations crossing on my timeline yesterday when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who, of course, his story, part of the Winning Time story, posted a picture of himself on an airplane with Martin Short from Only Murders in the Building, which have been two of my favorites of your recommendations that you've made recently. I just finished the second season of Only Murders in the Building, and the third season just dropped a few weeks ago, so now I'm ready to start catching up all the way. But it had Martin Short, who is very short, with Kareem on the plane, who was very tall, made for
You would be very short with Kareem.
Well, that's true. Made for a comical picture of the two of them together, though.
That's amazing. And I thought season 2, episode 5 of Winning Time was the best episode of the series. Probably by a long way, the transition from Paul Westhead to Pat Riley as head coach. And to be honest, I thought episode 6 was the worst episode of the series as they tried to jam like 2 1/3
They
seasons
moved
of
fast
basketball.
in that one, didn't they? Yeah, they really sped through a lot in that. It was like the last season of Game of Thrones. Like the first few years of Game of Thrones, you just moved at a snail's pace. Like, we need 4 episodes just to move someone from one castle to another on the road to get there. And then in the last season, everything was sped up to like 1,000 miles an hour to make everything fit in at the end. I hated that. I hated that at the end of Game of Thrones.
And I hated that last week on the Lakers show too. I'm like, hey, what's the matter with the 82 championship? Like, we can't celebrate the 82 championship. We have to yada yada the whole thing.
Yeah, just went right to
the
champagne
credits?
and just move right on, and let's keep going as fast as we can.
Unbelievable. Hopefully they slow down a little bit, but I think they're just setting up an Empire Strikes Back finish Sunday in the finale, Ben, with Bird beating Magic, in the 84 finals, and then
Spoiler
setting
alert.
up 85 next season,
Spoiler
I guess.
alert, Craig. Don't tell everybody what's going to happen. What, have you
History
been in the
alert.
writer's room? You know what the plots that are coming are going to be? Yeah. Let's talk some Padres before we get to your recommendation for this week, and I'll let you chime in on the conversation yesterday, which ostensibly was like, what big move would you make if you were the GM and you wanted to make a big move? Is it going out and signing a free agent like Ohtani? Is it just re-signing Blake Snell? Or you're going to make a trade? And it ended up turning into a do you trade Juan Soto discussion, because that was kind of my big move. Not because I think getting rid of Juan Soto is necessarily smart, or I don't think Juan Soto is a good player. I just felt like it's the only realistic way that you can really shake up your roster in this offseason. Otherwise, you're pretty much bringing back the same team minus probably Snell and Hader and just moving around some, ancillary pieces next year. Which
Craig, I pushed back. I said, I don't see how you can stay all in on 2024, sell that to your fan base, and trade one of the greatest hitters in the game in the only real bright spot on your offensive, disappointment of a season. He was the only bright spot besides maybe Hassan Kim as well.
And Paul's not wrong.
I just don't see how that.
But if you
makes
keep Juan
sense.
Soto, you're essentially saying we just think that this team will be able to fix it next year.
I think you're overestimating the return you're going to get for Juan Soto.
Yeah, and that may be true as well. I don't know what kind of return you're going to get, but it's more than anything else that you could get on your roster right now.
So, as you know, Ben, because we've done these hypothetical trade talks so many times, I'm always going to answer the same way. Like, what are we getting? Because trading Juan Soto for something that doesn't pan out is a really bad idea. And trading Juan Soto for two pieces that are going to help you for the next 6 years is a tremendous idea. And something in between is middling. We watched yesterday Blake Snell beat the Dodgers, which is something I've really enjoyed over the last 3 years. Blake Snell's been really good against the Dodgers. He's been really good in LA against the Dodgers. And that was enjoyable. And winning a series was enjoyable. And these are the memories we're going to have of Blake Snell. Unfortunately, that's all we're going to have to remember Blake Snell by. Maybe a Cy Young award, somewhere in the Padres offices, and that would be very Mark Davis-esque, and it'd be really cool. And if Blake wants to open a barbecue stand, I think he could get decades of traction.
Well, Don and Mudd are going to have tons of gifts that they can remember Blake Snell by.
He's going to open a shoe store in downtown.
Shoes and sunglasses and everything else that he's given them over the last couple of years, but...
Absolutely. But as we all know now in retrospect, and we did not have the hindsight to be able to know this at the time, the Padres should have traded Blake Snell, because you would have something now instead of just, hey, do you remember that beautiful Wednesday night in September when he one-hit the Dodgers for 6 innings? That was really cool. Mookie Betts got the only single. Like, literally years from now, we're going to be talking about, do you remember when Blake Snell did that great thing? Remember when he shoved and he struck out 15 against the Mets? Do you remember? Yeah, and it's like, that's it. Remember when he won that weird Cy Young, maybe out of nowhere, or finished second? So on that side of it, I agree with Ben. On that side of it, if you're going to get something for Juan Soto, if you're going to get a pitcher for your rotation and a future piece, not necessarily a big four type piece, but another future piece, regular piece, maybe a right fielder, something like that, I'd be fine with that. I like that idea. However, you're not as good. You're not going to be as good if you trade Juan Soto. There's no way you're going to get better trading Juan Soto in the offseason for 2024.
I agree with you. But I think a lot of people also assume that, well, if you're trading Juan Soto, that means you're getting worse. And that means you're going to win fewer games next year than you did this year, which is not necessarily the case, because the Padres, even without Juan Soto, still have Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Xander Bogaerts. And that is a better star core than most teams can probably throw out onto the field in 2024. Now, they'll need great production from those three to have a better season, but they absolutely could have a better season next year, even without Juan Soto, than they did this year. In fact, I'd almost put money on the fact that they would, even without Juan Soto, probably have a better season next year.
I just don't think that the team that wants to acquire Juan Soto is the team that thinks that they are all in. They have a legitimate chance to win a World Series. They're not going to be giving away any starting pitchers. They're going to be giving you prospects, and we're pushing the goalpost down another couple of years by doing that.
Right. Like if the Phillies wanted to give you Andrew Painter, who's been out all year with Tommy John surgery, but is considered a top pitching prospect, is that good to load up one of your National League rivals and put Juan Soto in a bandbox ballpark in a lineup with Bryce Harper and friends? So there's going to be a risk reward to any of this. I'm going to go back to something I've said on your show and on our show, Padres Wrap-Up, a lot. The process needs to be trusted in terms of AJ Preller's ability to find talent and to find deals in Major League Baseball. When he goes wrong, it's in two ways, and it's really, really consistent. It's making a bad deal at the trade deadline, and he's made more of them than anything else. And it's overpaying for a star. It's star chasing. Some people use a different word, but star chasing. Chasing top performance, top prospect, a top season by a guy, overpaying for Machado's best year, etc. Although that might have been Peter Seidler's fault. But where he does great is going and finding Seth Lugo as a middle reliever for the Mets and turning him into a sub-4 ERA starter for the Padres. It doesn't mean you have to lock up the next 4 years of Seth Lugo. It means you need to go find the next one of those guys. Same for Michael Wacha. And I want to be real specific here. You know where my big moves are, Ben? They're in the Far East. I'm looking to bring in the Korean outfielder. I'm looking to bring in one of the ace Japanese pitchers. If you can't afford Yamamoto, maybe the next guy down. I'm putting Fernando Tatis Jr. in center field full-time in 2024, and I'm bidding Trent Grisham adieu and hoping that someone else is interested in taking the multiple Gold Glove, clueless baseball offensive player who has shown beyond a doubt, beyond bunting at the end of the NLCS and bunting the other day down 4-0, that this dude is not here to play baseball. He's not up there with any trust in his abilities. So I'd move Grisham. I'd put Tatis in center field, and I'd look to the Far East as a place that the Padres have really succeeded. They have built incredible relationships. They have built a great marketing relationship, and they might be able to get the best deal as opposed to paying market value for 31-year-olds in Major League Baseball.
I love where you're coming from, Craig, and I think you also made the perfect point that the job of GM is essentially you're constantly having to find new players and replacing and the next guy, and you keep scouting, and you never can just rest on your laurels and, hey, I found this guy, and let's just sign him forever. It's a never-ending job of always finding the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. And as fans, we tend to love the guys we see in front of us, and we want to hold on to them forever. But if you do that as a GM, and AJ has done it a little bit too much, but he's also found the next guy and the next guy, and he's going to have to keep doing that if the Padres are going to have success, just like every other GM has to keep finding the next guy. The Braves, hey, Freddie Freeman's gone. Let's bring in Matt Olson. Let's bring in the next guy that's going to be good for us. So really good points from Craig Elsten here this morning. All right, let's get to our Crossing Streams recommendation for the week. Drops, Paulie tells me, drops of gold. I have not heard about this one.
Drops of God.
God,
Of God.
not gold.
Now,
God.
I'm actually kind of in a weird way excited that Woodsy isn't here today because this is one that's right down your alley.
Okay.
I think, Ben. And it's right down my alley, too, to be perfectly honest with you. This is a show that came out in April, but like 100 shows came out in April as all the streamers tried to get all their best shows into the Emmy window. And it kind of worked, but kind of failed in terms of a lot of shows that you just missed because 100 other shows were on at the same time. Well, right now, the writer's strike and the actor's strike has led to a lot less stuff fresh coming out that's not reality material. So it's a good time to go back and catch some other shows. Drops of God, 8 episodes on Apple TV Plus. And it's really weird that this is the second straight series developed directly out of a Japanese manga comic that I am offering you here on Ben and Woods. But it is
One Piece last week. Yep, that's right.
From One Piece. Completely different from One Piece. Okay. You are going to be introduced to our main character, Camille Leger, who lives in France and gets a phone call from her estranged father who lives in Japan to say, come here, you have to come right away. I'm about to die. And she flies to Japan. They haven't talked to each other in over 20 years. And when she lands, he's already died. He's died in transit. And she goes to the reading of his will the next day, and she is there next to her father, who was one of the greatest winemakers and wine collectors in the world, and onophiles.
Good word. Good incorporator word. Very good.
Thank you. She is sitting at the reading of the will next to her father's prize pupil, a young Japanese man. And I'm spoiling the first half hour of the first show, but it is the premise. All right. Her father has deeded over his multi-million-dollar Japanese estate and the wine collection that's considered the best in the world therein, worth over $150 million, to the one of the two that can win a combat, essentially, of blind smell test, of being able to identify a wine tasting, to like have it just slip his taste and go, this is from the, this valley in France in 1973, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, here's the catch. Our lead character, Fleur, played by Fleur Gaffrier, Camille, she was trained by her father at an incredibly young age. And it's the first thing you see on the show is her blindfolded down in a wine cellar being fed toothpicks and like, just smell this. What is this? Is this plum? Is this peach? Is this saffron? What is it? But things went wrong as she was a kid. It estranged their family, and she cannot taste alcohol. If she even has alcohol touch her lips, she breaks out in a torrential nosebleed, collapses, falls apart.
Very detailed.
Yeah. So she and this Japanese student that you're going to meet, and is another main character in the show, are going to vie for this estate while she is figuring out the psychology of who her father was and their relationship, the relationship of their family, her relationship to wine. The stakes are small but big, It's luscious, the show. It's detailed. It's extravagant. I've watched 3 episodes. I am like all the way in, and I'm figuring this is going to be one of my top 20 shows of the year. Drops of God.
I just added it to my queue. I like that. I like the description that you gave us. Craig, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us a little bit early. Appreciate it.
Take care, boys. Talk to you next Friday.
Craig Elsten on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Another of his recommendations, The Morning Show, is back with the season 3. Oh, yeah. May talk about that in future episodes. We'll come back. We've got Amy Trask, the Princess of Darkness, joining us next year on The Fan. Halfway home on a Thursday. It's Ben and Paul. We did check in with Woods early this morning from his vacation in Chicago, and I think he was actually even a tiny bit mad when he saw who we had on the show today.
He
like,
was
how
upset.
you didn't wait for me to come back before your next guest? He was kind of mad about it, but hey, you go on vacation.
Sucks
As
to
you always
suck,
tell me
man.
when I'm on one of my many vacations. We can't plan life around your vacation. So same goes with Woods. And so he will miss out on our conversation right now on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline with NFL, CBS sports analyst, former Raiders executive, the Princess of Darkness herself, and one of our absolute show favorites, Amy Trask, is back with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Amy, it is great to talk to you. Welcome to another football season. Here we are.
Well, I don't know if my mic was live when you were talking about Woods, but I was giggling like a little giggler. That was quite witty. And you know what, man? Let me be mushy for a moment. May I be?
Hey, you may.
I love joining you on the radio.
Thank you.
I know I always say this privately because it's not like we're on air and it's not like people are actually listening to me right now, right? It's not like anyone can hear this. So I always say to you privately, so shh, it's our little secret, that you're my favorite. So I want you to know how serious I am when I say that. I recently started a podcast with Susie Schuster. We just dropped our first one. And the reason I note that is I'm super duper duper busy. So I have cut way back on doing things like radio, but there will not be a time you invite me on that I will say no. And if I ever do fail to come on, you should send out a search party because it probably means I've been abducted by zombies or something.
You are the best. I'm excited about the podcast. That is fantastic. I think the more Amy Trask we get, the better. It's just too bad there's nothing to talk about right now in the NFL. No big stories from the first week.
Yeah,
everyone just
week one.
made it through healthy. There was nothing really going on. Clearly, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the story. The biggest Shakespearean tragedy, even Shakespeare would go, no, we can't injure him on the fourth play of the season. They're never going to believe that. It's too much. It's too much. Unbelievable how it all played out on Monday Night Football. What were you just kind of in the moment thinking as you watched that, Amy?
I had a similar reaction to the manner in which you just described it. I just do want to say one thing before I jump into that. The part where you said there's never too much Amy, could you clip that for me so I could play it for my whole family?
Paul's
on a
good at
regular
clipping
basis?
things. Yeah, he'll probably send that to you, and you can slow it down, speed it up, whatever you want. He can.
I'm going to put it. Yeah. I'm going to put it on Twitter. I'm going to send it everywhere, and I'm going to send it to every relative I have. So thank you. Look, as to the game. You don't need to be a Jets fan. You don't need to be an Aaron Rodgers fan to know just how sad that was. And, I'm not just talking sad from a competitive standpoint if you're the Jets or if you're a Jets fan. It's just you never, ever, ever like to see an athlete go down with an injury that's, significant and or season ending and or worse than season ending. Career ending, and I've experienced that in my career. If you are a sportsman, if you are a fan of a sport, you never, ever, ever root for a player to be injured, even if that player plays for your arch enemy. I can tell you that in almost 30 years in the National Football League, never, ever, ever once did I root for an injury of any player on any team, whether we were playing them or not. And I don't know one other person in the National Football League who did. So it's sad. And then as you just described, almost Shakespearean, all the off-season whoop-de-doo, all the off-season hoopla, the fourth play of the game. Wow.
I saw that the Players Association came out with, basically they said, we got to do something about the artificial turf, the field turf, and we don't know that necessarily contributed or was a cause to Aaron Rodgers' injury. I think we do know that you get a few less injuries on natural grass. In your role as a former executive, how often did that come up? I mean, the expense of maintaining real grass versus the field turf, the advances in how it's gotten better, obviously, than the old days of just the terrible old AstroTurf that they used to play on, essentially carpet on top of concrete that they had in places like St. Louis and elsewhere. How many discussions went on kind of behind the scenes about the playing surface?
Well, I agree with so much of what you just said leading up to the question, which I, of course, will answer. You're right. We don't know if the playing surface caused the injury. We don't know if there's a correlation or if there was causation. We just don't know the answer to that. The other thing we don't know is whether the fact that he was playing with a calf injury contributed to the injury. And the reason I note that is there was a basketball player, I think it might have been Kobe, who was playing with a calf injury. And I'm sorry, I don't remember if it was Kobe or someone else, but a significant basketball player was playing with a calf injury and ruptured an Achilles. And so there may be a correlation there or causation there. So you're right, we don't know if it was the turf. What we do know is what you just said. When I started my career, turf was essentially concrete with some green little things painted, glued on top of it. And it was really, really, really hard. And there were seams, which are very, very dangerous. I remember at the outset of my career, which was about 1 million years ago, players taking me out on the field pregame when we played in venues in which there was AstroTurf, which was green stuff glued on cement, just so I could feel how hard it was. And it was hard when you were simply walking on it. And I can imagine, I told the players then that the thought of falling on it, slamming an elbow into it, a head, of course, but you're wearing a helmet on a head at least, but an elbow, a knee. Yes, you're wearing pads in various parts of your bodies. You can throw pads everywhere on your elbows, wherever you want, but that, of course, impacts your playing. I don't care how many pads you had on when that turf was just green stuff on cement. It was hard. Has it gotten better? Yes, it is. Is it grass? No, it's not. And were I the Players Association, I would make that a priority in a bargaining situation. And we all know that bargaining is a give and take. Well, that would be something on which I didn't want to give much. The other thing that will be interesting is if we see players going forward who are free agents with multiple opportunities, and they opt for grass, a team that plays its home games on grass rather than on turf, and if they're willing to take less compensation to do so, because that would send a powerful message to teams.
Talking to CBS Sports NFL analyst Amy Trask here on Ben and Woods. Now the question, obviously, for the Jets is what do they do from here? Their coach, Robert Saleh, has given an endorsement. I think, really, what else can he do to his current backup quarterback, Zach Wilson? Now, is that lip service? Is that coach, saying what coach has to say, and behind the scenes they are frantically looking at whatever other options they may have, or do you feel like that's authentic and they're gonna really ride with Zach Wilson here for the most part? Maybe add a backup somewhere, but he'll be the guy for the team the rest of the season.
Well, I don't think a lot of that which you just posed is mutually exclusive. In other words, yes, absolutely, a coach is going to say that. Of course you're going to say that if you're a coach. You don't know right now whether you're bringing someone else in or not, either someone to back him up, someone to back him up who might replace him, someone to take the start right now. So you don't know that. And of course, you're going to endorse him and give him confidence and say all the right things. And by the way, if you're a good person and a good man and a good coach, you're going to say that anyway, even if you know you're going to finish that press conference and go to the front office and say, holy crap, go find me a quarterback. I'm not suggesting he said that. My point is you're going to make those comments no matter what. Now, the other thing, and I shared this on the podcast with Susie Schuster, the moment Aaron went down, a lot of people on that team knew, okay, this could be season ending or at a minimum a very, very, very long recovery. In other words, this could be a big deal. Teams don't wait till the next day to start looking at their alternatives. Front office people that minute started thinking, all right, who's available as a free agent? Who could we go sign if we want to sign someone? Is there anyone we're interested in looking into trading for with someone we have on the roster or a future draft pick? Those thoughts and discussions are beginning that night in game, and teams don't go in cold. It's not like they sit there, like Fred and Barney on the Flintstones scratching their head thinking, who's out there? Teams have lists of all the free agents and people they believe may be available for trades. So do I believe the Jets are going to bring in one or more additional quarterbacks? Yes, I do. Do I believe they'll replace Zach Wilson? We're going to see how he plays.
Amy, we love your Al Davis stories from your time with the Raiders. And Al, obviously, because of his background in coaching, is One of the more player-friendly owners that you had, at least one that could relate to what they were going through. I want to ask, what do you think his reaction would be to where contracts have gone to now? Joe Burrow getting a $275 million extension. Nick Bosa, the defensive record, $170 million extension. Would Al be happy? Would his jaw drop? I mean, what would he have said about this now?
Well, you're right. He did value players. And yes, there were players with whom he had his issues. Those are well-known stories. But he loved the men who played the game. And from the very, very start of my career, for the next almost 30 years, I heard the following words from him. The players are the game. And he truly, truly believed that. And he wasn't hesitant to pay players more than other people thought he should pay them. There were times we paid players, and I'm sorry, no specific names come to mind right now, that people within our organization were advising him, don't pay him so much. And Al would just want to pay him more sometimes. And there were times other owners in the league and league executives in the league office would give Al the side eye. And I'm going to be very clear, it wasn't collusion. They weren't trying to collude and get him to pay a different amount. They would just sort of groan and give him the side eye when he did pay a player more than, the media reported he should have paid them. He didn't really care what anyone else thought. Well, that's just in general. He didn't care what anyone else thought about his actions. He paid what he thought was the right number. And, he would have, he would not have been bothered with the way the game has evolved in that respect.
It's interesting because, we're the Padres station. We do a lot of Padres talk, but it feels like the dynamic is kind of similar because of the money the Padres have been spending lately, that they've been getting as you said, the side eye from other owners, maybe even a little bit more than that. There's been comments, the commissioner of the sport, not necessarily happy to see a team, in a smaller market start paying players higher amounts of money, because it does have an effect on, one player gets something, then another player is going to want the same or more. That's how pro sports works, Amy.
But it's not just sports. That's how a lot of industries work. Free marketplace only in sports. It's not entirely free because you're drafted and you go where you're drafted. But eventually you can become a free agent or threaten a holdout or a hold-in or all those things. I don't think what we're discussing is unique to sports, but sports is front and center and everyone's interested. So there is, of course, tremendous focus on it in that regard.
It's Paul's birthday, and we were talking about nostalgia.
How did I not know that?
Yeah, happy birthday.
I could have sent cupcakes.
He's just a baby still. He's 33. But even at 33, we were talking about nostalgia. Woods is visiting his old haunting grounds in Chicago, and we were talking about nostalgia earlier. And, when you were back with the Raiders, two of the best teams in football in the NFC were always the 49ers and the Cowboys. It seemed like it often came down to those two teams at the end of the year. Now, we're only through week one, but to me, it was pretty obvious who the two best teams were in week one of the football season. It looked like the 49ers, what they did going into Pittsburgh and just dominating all-around performance, and, of course, what the Cowboys did on Sunday night on the road against the New York Giants. And it had that nostalgia for me, Amy, of that era that I was growing up. That's when I was, first starting to love football in the 1980s. And I just wanted to get kind of your thoughts and memories of that era and those two teams and what you saw from them this week.
Well, you're absolutely right. And as you were talking, I'm smiling ear to ear thinking if these two teams continue to perform as they are, and there's no reason to expect they won't other than, gosh forbid, injury issues for either or both of the teams. Imagine an NFC championship matchup with those two teams. That would be nostalgic. You're absolutely
I'm sure the
right.
Eagles will have something to say about that at some point.
Right.
But, yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought. I thought, man, this is my childhood, 49ers, Cowboys all over again.
And I certainly mean no disrespect to the Eagles other than we're talking about nostalgia, and nostalgia is 49ers Cowboys in that regard. As to the Cowboys, I will say this, and I don't in any way intend to diminish their performance. It was spectacular. I was just a little taken aback by all now this is going to be a very technical football term, write it down, all the whoop-de-doo about the Giants this offseason. The Giants, yes, they did. They made the playoffs last year and people were very excited. They won only 3 of their last 10 games. I mean, think about that. Yeah, you made it into the playoffs. Okay, yay you. But you only won 3 out of the final 10 games of the season. So I thought there was a lot too much whoop-de-doo about the Giants going into this season. So yes, the Cowboys looked spectacular, but let's just put a little footnote in that if we can. And, the 49ers, people were expecting a lot from Pittsburgh, and we saw what the 49ers did.
All right, you told us the new podcast with Susie Schuster, episode 1 is out. You can get that at your normal podcast outlets, I'd assume.
Oh, yes, you can.
And then to see you on television, CBS Sports, still doing the Sunday shows?
I am CBS Sports Network at 5 a.m. California time. And, every single thing we get from CBS, and this was the case while I was in the National Football League, every single thing we get from the National Football League, it's always in New York time. And I always feel like telling people, we have a time zone out here too, So I convert everything to California time and I tweet it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, you don't have to change anything for us. We're always California time here. Amy, we appreciate it. And even though Woods couldn't be here, I'm sure he sends his love as well.
And I just want you to know that because I don't want you to get sanctioned or fined by the FCC, I will not sing Happy Birthday on air.
We won't make you. Amy Trask, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amy Trask and our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. I think she's very genuine. Her effusive praise of us and our show, I always wonder, she can't like us that much, can she? Can she really like us as much as she says she likes us?
Do you think she just goes on every radio show
and
she
says,
does
you
and
are
says that?
Am I absolutely?
Hey,
I can't.
don't tell anybody else.
No, she's too authentic. She can't say it anywhere else.
She would be a liar.
And
I don't think she's a liar.
I don't think so either. I think she really does like us better than everybody else, which is great.
Suck it,
because I like her better than any other football guest I think we bring on.
She's the best.
All right. Paulie's birthday. I'm curious to know what birthday plans he's got. We'll ask him about that. Eno Sarris is going to join us later this hour as well. Continuing our busy Thursday. We'll be back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Don't forget to tune in to Kickoff with Boomer Esiason and Mike Valenti. Every week, Boomer and Valenti preview the entire slate of NFL games. Analysis from Boomer, picks from Mike, the biggest stories in the league packed into an hour. Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. here on 97.3 The Fan, and always live on the free Odyssey app, presented nationally by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. Yes, it is Paulie's birthday today. And you actually have a 3-day weekend coming up because we're going to be off tomorrow. So you can blow it out tonight. You can do whatever you want. I assume Vegas vacation or what do you have coming up here?
No Vegas vacation for the birthday this year. Probably the wife's birthday this year.
All right.
Will be Vegas in a couple of months.
Staycation? Are you getting
We are
out of-
staycationing.
Okay.
We're going to stay downtown this weekend. Checking in tomorrow, so not tonight.
All right.
But yeah, looking forward to that.
Well, what's tonight then?
So tonight is
Your actual birthday.
Tonight is the actual birthday, and it's good. Megan has to work tomorrow, but she gets to work from home, so
Okay.
at least we can hang out.
Dinner at home or going out tonight?
We're going out.
Going out.
I actually have my adult basketball game tonight.
Oh, you do?
The tier 1s, and it's we only got like 1 or 2 more games left.
And
for
I still
this
haven't
season.
come in to coach your team
We're still
yet.
waiting.
Sorry about
Pat
that.
Riley over there.
Yeah.
So our game tips off at 6:30, so it's still early. So she's gonna come to the game. She doesn't come to a ton of them, but she wants to come to this one. She's gonna go. Megan's gonna go full team mom, orange slices. And I think she's going to bring some treats for the guys. And then we are going to go.
I hated orange slices, by the way.
What?
They were the worst treat.
No.
You liked orange slices?
Oh, yeah. Like at halftime of a soccer game.
No, never liked them.
Throw down a couple of orange slices.
Give me something good. Give me a Rice Krispie treat.
That's
or
not going to
something.
help you perform.
I don't care. I don't like it. First of all, you get the seeds, and then it would get all sticky all over you, and there was nothing to clean it off with. I thought orange slices were always the absolute worst.
How messy did you eat oranges?
An orange slice is always messy.
Not that messy.
Yeah, it's pretty messy. You're burying your face into it, and you're trying to kind of gnaw around the pith and the peel. Come on, someone back me up here. Orange slices, while they were, of course, the
go-to.
They were the stereotypical snack for a soccer kids team halftime. It was the worst. I hated orange slices. Now, juice boxes were good.
I remember it was always soccer growing up.
Always.
Where you would get orange slices like at halftime to keep you going, and then you'd get like the Capri Sun
After
and
the game,
Rice Krispie treat after the game.
True.
Baseball, you didn't really have a halftime, so like Little League.
Orange slice doesn't keep you going either. It's that orange slice. So basically, you're just trying to suck the juice out of the orange slice. So basically, what you're having, it's like you could have a thimble full of orange juice.
Just take a shot of orange juice.
Is essentially what you've just had to keep your kids going for another half of soccer. I'm sorry, a tangent there, but I was always skeptical. Everyone got excited about orange slices, and I never understood.
Well, maybe I'll tell
why
wife
people
girl
like that.
to just stick to the cupcakes or something for the post game treats. But then 6:30 tip off. Games only go like 45 minutes to an hour. So once that's over, I think we're gonna cruise over. It's in the game's right off of Miramar Road, so we're gonna go find a brewery and food truck, and the team's gonna come with us, and we'll just go all hang out tonight. So looking forward to that. And then staycation this weekend. We're doing fancy dinner on Saturday night.
Okay,
get our
that'll be
steak
fun.
dinner down, and we'll see what else.
All right.
But yeah, looking forward to it.
Good luck
Thank
to
you.
you.
For the well wishes.
Have a very good, happy birthday weekend. Enjoy
33
yourself.
years old.
And we will we'll see you back on Monday. You do have 90 more minutes though of show for us today. But you packed it well. You've done a nice job producing in Woods' absence. Good guests. Amy Trask was a win earlier this hour. And then we've got Eno Sarris coming up next, our regular Thursday segment. And then in our final hour, you'll give us a Reindl Report. We'll have our football threesome, our new segment that we debuted last week on Thursdays.
Yes, I almost forgot about that when I was like putting the show together. I go, oh yeah, it's Thursday.
It's Thursday,
I
so we'll
love
have
that
our
segment.
football threesome. And then at the end of the show, last segment, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the Padres coming up, but I would like to look ahead. Since we're not going to be in tomorrow, Braden's going to be in. I want to look ahead at a little bit at the college football weekend as well, what's coming up, because I found that it's You have to plan nowadays for your like college football watching. Like, what's going to be on? What are the priorities? Sometimes it's the early game you want to watch,
9, noon,
4:30, and then
o'clock,
7 p.m.
and then the really
you
late
can't.
ones.
I mean, unless you're a real diehard, you're not going to watch all 4 of those things. You got something going on. You got kids games. You got.
I mean, they're usually on in my house
they'll be
from
on,
9 a.m.
but like,
until
there's
10
usually
p.m.
you got to pick one window
Right.
where you're like locked in, maybe to
Right.
college football. So I have a list of the best options for the weekend for
Okay.
college football that we can get to coming up a little bit later. Next, though, our weekly Smart Baseball segment. We'll chat with Eno Sarris. As I said earlier, the Padres aren't eliminated yet.
Oh my God!
0.1%.
Don't. That is not the tease for Eno.
It's not
Sarris.
over. It's not. Eno's going to tell us we're just waiting for that long winning streak, and here it comes with the Padres heading to the A's.
Yeah,
Hey,
they got the one
they
yesterday.
got the
so they're
one.
gonna
Now
go
all they have to
sweep
do
the
is sweep
A's
the A's, and they got
yeah.
their first 4-game
Jesus.
winning streak of the year. We'll talk to Eno Sarris coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. Sour 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by South Norte Tequila Cocktails. Real tequila, real juice. Savor South Norte. Mexican-inspired premium tequila cocktails. Yeah, made with real tequila, real juice. Sip on a classic margarita, an authentic Paloma, or crack open a Matador or with a Mexican Mule. Pick yours up at Stater Brothers, Ralph's, and more. Our next guest more of a craft beer person, I think, than a tequila drinker.
I bet he dabbles.
But I'm sure he dabbles a little bit. Yeah, we got Eno Sarris standing by. Join us for some smart baseball right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Traffic is sponsored by the all-new Premier Cadillac of Carlsbad. Seeing way too many accidents involving motorcycles, guys. We've got one on the northbound side of the 15 at Deer Springs Road. It's over the right shoulder. Crash involving motorcycle on westbound 78 near the 15. Looks like a vehicle over the right shoulder. One in the center divide. Also traveling on southbound 15 near Gopher Canyon. Collision involving a motorcycle. That's in the center divide. Further south in the 15, got a car hauler whose tire caught fire right before Center City Parkway. That is over to the right shoulder. Brought to you by Premier Cadillac of Carlsbad with brand new 2023 Cadillac XT4s and XT5s in stock now. Stop in or shop online at CadillacCarlsbad.com, a proud member of the Premier Carlsbad family of dealers. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
He's on the phone, so I don't think he can see me right now. But if he was on our YouTube stream, Eno would see that I am wearing my shirt from one of San Diego's legendary craft beer destinations, the Blind Lady Ale House. Always been one of our favorites, Eno. Have you paid a visit in one of your many trips here to San Diego?
I have, and if I'm right, that's one of the few that remain standing.
It is, yes. It has made it through many a challenge over the last few years, all restaurants and breweries especially facing lots of challenges through the pandemic and more. But, yeah, it's always one we've appreciated so much here in San Diego. We have a lot of great craft beer, and I know you've experienced a lot of it, Eno.
That's the word.
Let's start talking about Blake Snell. Came out last night, and I thought this was significant because in his chase for the Cy Young Award, A.J. Cassavell wrote about how he was given a choice by Bob Melvin. Do you want to make your normal start on 4 days rest and face the Dodgers, or we've been pushing you a lot lately, we can give you an extra day, which would be 2 with the day off, and you can just go ahead and face the A's on Friday. And he said, no, give me the Dodgers. And then he went out and shoved 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk even for Blake, and 8 strikeouts. I think solidifying him as the favorite here in the final month for the Cy Young Award.
Yeah, definitely pushed himself to being the favorite. And he could have taken the easy way out, so I appreciate that. I think also he knows a lot of other executives around baseball are watching, and that his next contract may have something to do with that decision as well. But, he could have gone the easy way out and padded his stats. So I appreciate that about him. And, he's definitely the favorite in my book.
We've been talking about, obviously, Blake is going to get his this offseason, especially with the Shohei Ohtani news on the pitching side of things and Julio Urias' legal problems now. Blake's value is just skyrocketing here as the premier pitcher who's going to be into free agency. But for you, Eno, knowing, 31 years old and what he's going to be asking for, where do you kind of see the value of Blake Snell going forward and what you'd kind of be willing to give him if you were a GM?
I think he's got to go past the Gossman and Robbie Ray deals. Yeah, I think he's got to pass those. But I don't think when you give someone like Garrett Cole, that ridiculous, huge contract, it's not only because of his age or his durability or because of any one thing. It's because of all those things. Garrett Cole came out as a free agent at a primo age with a pristine health track record and just every year kind of dominance, And I don't think that Snell has each one of those things. So I don't think he's necessarily going to get the really crazy Garrett Cole type contract or the Jacob deGrom one even, but somewhere just south of the Jacob deGrom deal, 150, 175, somewhere there I could see him getting.
How important is it nowadays, do you think, when agents are plotting career trajectories with their clients to try to hit free agency when there's still a 2 on the age, essentially? Like, if you can get to free agency at like 27 or 28, seems like it makes a big difference now compared to hitting it at 31 or 32.
It's huge, and it's a big part of why in the last CBA, the players union was trying to come up with incentives for teams to bring their best players up to the big league as soon as possible. And I was a little skeptical that they'd found one, but I think we are seeing some evidence that the incentive of getting a draft pick for getting a rookie of the year has changed some behaviors when it comes to bringing players up. And so I think they did some good there. Some evidence for this is Manny Machado's first deal. That was such a big one because he was young, there are other examples of this. People are speculating on whether Juan Soto, will get a deal starting with a 4, because that's what he supposedly wanted when he was in Washington. And he's going to come out as a 26-year-old. Like, that's he is probably going to get that 4. As much as his base running and his defense hasn't been up to par, we're talking about a guy who, basically hits like Miguel Cabrera and is a 26-year-old free agent. So you remember that first Miguel Cabrera deal? That wasn't a bad one. It was the second Miguel Cabrera deal that was a bad one. So, I think he is going to get a big deal, and it's a huge deal to get out there before you're 30.
Talking to Eno Sarris from The Athletic, our weekly segment here on Ben and Woods, and you mentioned Juan Soto. You also pointed out something, that the defense, the base running, maybe the focus, just wanes a little bit sometimes out there, is what I've seen these last couple of seasons. Doesn't mean he's not a great player, but his future may be more as a designated hitter. Now, he said that he doesn't like being a designated hitter. He wants to be an everyday player. He wants to play 162. He's been battling it out with Bob Melvin, who wants to give him a day off, but he likes to be out there every single day. What do you see as the future, Eno, with Juan Soto? Well, if he's with the Padres or any other team, is he better off being a DH, or do you think that his future is out in the field every inning?
One thing that is interesting about DH is that I believe, and this is not necessarily shared by every analyst that has listened to the topic, but I believe it's a skill. And there's different ways that you can sort of prove it's a skill, but one of the ways I see it is more anecdotal, is if you just look at David Ortiz and how he was as a DH, that's how you can be a successful DH, which is to say he was on the top step. He was telling other players what pitch was coming. There's a famous anecdote that he would yell out the pitch was coming before it came for other batters on the team. So that's the kind of engagement you need to do, because what happens is, I talked to J.D. Davis a lot about this, is you get cold. You're not playing in the field, so your body gets cold. Do you then go down, into the dugout, past the dugout, and get on a bike? Well, then you're not engaged in the game. You're just on a bike, and the lights are different. You're in the tunnel doing the bike, and then you come out and the lights are different. So there's this whole skill to being a DH that is the reason why most players are 10% worse as a DH than they would be in the field. And I bet you Soto's just reacting to that instinctively, just being like, I want to be engaged. I want to be in the game. I don't know that it has to go from left field to DH. I would at least try him at first base before he gets to DH. And you could get 10 years of first base out of him before he really has to be in DH. The problem is his legs. I think that, maybe focus, but that's a little bit more, that's harder for me to see. I see him enough, but and I do see him do not great routes and draw balls that I think he could have gotten to. But I see some problem in the legs. They haven't been the same as they were when he was first in the league.
Now, Juan Soto at first base, you just gave us something to chew on for a while, I would say, in this
that
offseason.
Works for the Padres, too.
It does. That's exactly why you gave us something to chew on here for the future. It's interesting that you brought it up, because obviously, you're You're into the numbers. You study them massively. It's why we have you on. But what you were saying about the DH isn't really reflected in terms of like the sabermetrics. The mathematical side of baseball would say hitting is hitting, and whether you're a DH or you're playing center field, that shouldn't have any impact on how you play. But obviously, it does. Other factors have an influence.
Yeah, there's an observed. It's called the pinch hitter DH penalty, and every player is 10% worse as a pinch hitter or a designated hitter than they would be otherwise.
I had never heard that at least represented as a stat before, like that there was a number you always got the sense of it as a fan, like he's coming up as a pinch hitter, but I can't really expect as much out of him in this situation, right, Paul?
Right. So, let me ask you just kind of the topic of the last 24 hours or so. Old Hot Take Higgins over here was making the case that while we love Juan Soto, if he was in charge, the biggest splash the Padres could make over the offseason would be to trade their most tradable player in Juan Soto and try to shake things up instead of running it back with the exact same team in 2024. If you were in charge, would you run it back with Juan Soto for one last playoff push, at least while he's under contract? Would you want to try to extend him, or would you move him and try to restock up on whatever you can get for Juan Soto?
I mean, as a rental trade away. So let's say you re-rack it, you just go to the end of the year, and you trade him at the deadline because it didn't work out. He has a lot less value because we've just seen it. The best quote unquote rental that's been available in the last few years that went in a single deal was Manny Machado, and he returned Dean Kramer, who was basically the number 5 for the Orioles. Now that would be useful for the Padres, but you're going into the season needing 3 starting pitchers. And so there's going to be some real soul searching in terms of, do we have the budget to go get 3 starting pitchers? And, if we do have that budget and we can find some short-term deals, they did pretty well last year. Michael Walk on a short-term deal.
Really
Sept
well.
on a short-term deal. Yeah, they did really well. If they can recapture that magic and find $30 million in the budget to go get 3 starting pitchers on short-term deals, then they should re-rack it, because they can trade Soto at the deadline and still maybe get a number 4 or number 5 back that's cost controllable and help themselves in the future. So I would lean towards re-racking, just because this team is so concentrated on the now, and there's so much pain coming, at the end of this, that I would just want to win now.
All right, that's fair enough. And ultimately, we talked about it earlier, that's the job of the GM. Yeah, you found Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. Now you got to go out and do it again next year. You got to find more pitchers, and it may not seem fair, but that really is the job for the GM. You're only as good as your latest move. But ultimately, what you were saying is, well, if they can do this and if they can do that, and if they find this, then the Padres have a chance to run it back and be good next year. It sticks in the craw of fans, that the Padres have spent so much money only to come up with a team that has just as many ifs as most other franchises for the amount that they're spending. Sure, it doesn't guarantee you anything. You have injuries, you have poor performances. You shouldn't have so many ifs, though, on a $280 million roster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to harp on it, but this is where the player development needs to come in. I thought Ray Kerr is kind of a nice little bright light there.
Yeah.
I think that's a good arm in the bullpen that has popped up this year.
Luis Campusano's been a bright light. Tom Cosgrove's been a nice bright light.
Campusano, the guy that they kept.
Yeah.
Campusano's the guy they kept, and now you're seeing why, and that's a really good one. And I think Cosgrove was. So you're starting, I think, see some of that, but I think you'd want a little bit more in terms of starting pitching. It's just I think Pedro Vila's interesting. I wanted Adrian Morahan to kind of pick a lane this year and maybe shine. I think he could definitely be a great setup guy if that's the way they go with him. I think he could still be a good back end starter. So there's some tinkling of that. But just look at the Dodgers. I hate to do this, but they're right there. They've lost everybody in their starting rotation this year, and they're still going to have Bobby Miller, pitch in game 1 or game 2, and they're still going to find a way to get enough pitching because they brought up Emmett Sheehan this year and Ryan Pepio, and they just keep doing that. And it's not like they've had high draft picks. You can't say, well, they had high draft picks. No, that's not true. So there's something there that needs to be copied a little bit. There needs to be some investment, and we've heard this year from players that left the organization that they're still a little bit behind in terms of listening to the analytics and listening to the tech and having a good player development system.
I'm the king of the what ifs and the if I had only told yous, and this one I think is the one that frustrates Padres fans the most. But you look at the question marks the Padres had to start the season, and I go, what if I told you Blake Snell was going to win a Cy Young, Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha were going to exceed all expectations in your starting rotation. Ha-Seong Kim is going to be among the leaders in WAR. Luis Campusano is going to finally break out and have a great season, in the second half behind the plate. And your big four are pretty much going to be, relatively healthy throughout the season. Oh, and Josh Hader is going to be a top closer. I mean, what's your over-under on Padres wins at this point at the beginning of the year? 105? I mean, it was every question was answered essentially in the positive, and this team is sitting with 69 wins with 2 weeks to go in the season.
I think that there's a real strong, just judging from my Twitter account and some of the stuff I've shared and the reactions I've gotten, there's a real sense that a team can't be unlucky this late in the season, and there must be something innate about these Padres that they're chokers or whatever, this or that. But last year they were 22-5 in one-run games, and this year they're 6-22. And I don't know that there's such a fundamental difference in teams between last year and this year that you can be like, oh, these additions were the chokers. Especially when you look at the additions and say, well, the additions were pretty good. So we added Tatis and they added Wacha, and they should have been better. So. I would say that it's just a really rotten year for luck. I mean, it's a weird thing to say, but one-run games are super noisy. And one of the reasons that they wanted to say, oh, well, it's got to be the bullpen, right? Well, the thing is, you get to a one-run loss in so many different ways.
We've talked about it. We're out of time. I'm sorry, but you're both absolutely right and absolutely infuriating half of the Padres fan base at the same time. But we love having you on, man. We're out of time, but thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you.
There he is, Eno Sarris, our Smart Baseball segment.
Missed it,
but brought to you by 7 Mile Casino.
Thank you, 7 Mile Casino. We love you, 7 Mile Casino. 7 Mile Casino.
Didn't have time for the close.
Just 7 minutes from downtown. 7 Mile
Great
Casino.
stuff from Eno. I want to react to that when we come back, and we'll get to some Reindl Report headlines next with Ben and Woods on the Fan. Good stuff from Eno Sarris. I know it feels too good to be true. And if it was a Padres fan like myself wearing rose-colored glasses and going, this team has just had the unluckiest season of all time, and you just have to throw it out the window, I'd laugh at it and go, of course you'd say that. You're a homer and you have no objectivity, and you're just saying that because you want to defend AJ and Bob Melvin and this team because you're a fan and you have no perspective. Eno is not that guy, though. He doesn't have any loyalty to the Padres whatsoever to make that statement. And yet he is consistently, as one of the smartest baseball guys we know, someone who's smart enough that he's earned his weekly segment. He continues to say, and I know it infuriates a lot of people, that the Padres' biggest problem this year, and they've had some real issues. I mean, Xander Bogaerts has had a down year. It's not a perfect roster. They lacked pitching depth of the starters at the end. But that is not why they have 69 wins. The reason why their record is what it is because they've been really unlucky and not been clutch in the right situations. And that ultimately will be true whether you like it to be true or not. It doesn't mean they're going to fix it next year, though. That's the other part of this equation. That everyone always goes, well, they were unlucky this year, so they're going to bounce back and they'll have a luckier next year. No, they could be historically unlucky next year as well. You have to overcome that. You have to hit with runners in scoring position to have a good season. We saw that. The numbers are clear. Tom Verducci laid that out. You look at the best teams, they're the ones that come through in the clutch. They're the ones that hit with runners in scoring position. And it's the only way the Padres are going to have a good year next year. But there's no reason they can't do that. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times this year. Saw it yesterday. Padres have a good game. They do it. They just have to do it consistently. And if they did that, clearly they could have a really good year because we've seen it enough this year that it's in there that you just have to have it come out more often than it came out this year. Yeah. It's not because you don't have enough talent.
It's just
I know.
We've had a large enough sample size now, pretty much the entire season, where we've identified what the problems are. I still don't have any clue on what the solution is. How do you just make guys clutch and make guys good at hitting with runners in scoring position?
No.
I don't know.
We have not identified those solutions. We had an interesting conversation during the break, though, after Eno talked about designated hitters. And I think it's very true. The Padres need a designated hitter. They need someone to step up and take that role. And it's a difficult role. As he just said, there's the DH penalty, the 10% DH penalty. And if they could find someone, whether it's outside the organization or one of the players who's already here, Soto or Xander, none of them want to be the DH. They all feel like that's a weakness or a failure. If I'm not going out there every day in the field, then I'm a lesser player. I'm not helping the team as much as, I want to post. I want to be out there 106. Can you imagine asking just Manny, I know he's been doing it lately, to just DH? I mean, he'd cringe. He'd go, well, I'm a fake baseball player if I go out there. But ultimately, if you could find someone who could embrace that role and be a really good DH, it gives you an advantage over the other teams that don't have one. The Red Sox always had a great advantage because they had such a great DH in David Ortiz. And you said it perfectly. You said, did you think Red Sox fans cared when Big Papi was, hitting 40 bombs and was leading and was being a great player on that team? Boy, if only he could go out and give us, 100 games in the field. Then we'd really be good. No, he served his role and he served it well. Edgar Martinez, some of the great DHs. The Padres need someone to have that attitude. And maybe it's Xander, maybe it's Soto, to go out and say, I can help this team. Not by insisting that I go out and play okay defensive baseball. I can help this team by embracing being the best designated hitter in all of baseball. And I could do that for the next 10 years with this franchise.
Right.
And that actually doesn't make you a lesser player. That makes you a greater player. You're actually sacrificing for the team by doing that.
Yeah.
You're
putting your ego aside.
Yeah, you're putting your ego aside.
That's your ego telling you I want to be out on the field.
That's not you're not helping the team, Juan, by playing so-so left field out there. Yeah, you're not the worst left fielder I've ever seen, but you're certainly not a guy who's indispensable in the field. And Xander, same thing with you at shortstop. You made a lot of great plays. I have no problem with you being out there. If Ha-Seong Kim is on this team, though, he's a better shortstop than you are. You might be more valuable to this team by being a great designated hitter.
Yeah.
And you set your ego aside. I will praise you.
Does that give you any pause as a fan that your team just paid all that money and gave out that huge contract and he just ends up becoming a DH?
No. See, that's the attitude I'm trying to avoid. He could play out in the field. If you needed him to go out there the whole season at shortstop because Kim got hurt or whatever, be fine. Better than most teams. Great. But what most teams don't have is a next level designated hitter. And the Padres have guys who really could be that if they'd embrace it. But they all have that same, I'm a nothing if I don't go out there every day in the field. I'm hurting my team. I'm not a real ball player. They need someone to take the opposite attitude and say, I can really help this team by giving them the one thing they've lacked all year long. And that's a great designated hitter. And yet they all go, I want to go out in the field. Open up a spot for someone else that can go out and play great defense and maybe develop and become a better player. Give AJ a little more flexibility even, as opposed to spending all year trying to sign the next Matt Carpenter or the next one, the next Nelson Cruz, who may or may not hit. You can hit with someone who's already on your roster as a great designated hitter without costing you another $1 because you're already paying them. Just something to chew on as
I like that.
Padres head to the offseason. All right, let's get to some headlines. It is time for the Reindl Report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning, Paul. Where have you been all day? Oh, no, wait. We've
Been right
talking the last 3 hours and 7 minutes.
It's kind of been a lot of Reindl Report today.
Yeah.
I digress. We will start off in the National Football League. Saw this story here with the Los Angeles Rams. They placed backup quarterback Stetson Bennett from Georgia, won the championship last year, on the reserve/non-football illness list. And that's about all we know. Sean McVay gave no details. He said, out of respect for him and the situation, I'm going to leave all the specifics and particulars in-house. And I want to be able to do that out of respect for that situation. So I'm not going to have any follow-up information or anything that I'll give in that regards.
I'm sure everyone will just drop it then, and no one will ask any more questions.
Yeah, I'm sure no idiot on the radio will be like, what the hell is going on with the Rams? He was not on the trip, I don't think, even with Seattle or up to Seattle last weekend. Brett Ripien was the Rams' backup, and he will continue to serve in that role as Stetson Bennett will at least miss the next 4 games, being placed on the NFI list.
I mean, I guess the respectful thing to do would be to follow Sean McVay's lead and just say, leave it at that. Or we can just wildly speculate about what's going on. I mean, first thing, well, is it COVID? I mean, why wouldn't you just say it if it's COVID? It's not. I mean, what
McVay was asked.
What's so private that can't be divulged? Even a hint of information about what's going on with Stetson Bennett.
ESPN says that when McVay was asked how Bennett moving to the NFI affects the Rams quarterback room, McVay said, "I think there are certain things that are a lot bigger than that." So that's a little concerning. Don't know what's going on with him, but I hope everything is okay.
I mean, we could just list like diseases and illnesses until we hit the right one, but you know what? Let's not do that.
Let's not.
We'll give Stetson Bennett his measure of privacy, and whatever it is, we'll just say, hopefully he overcomes all of it and gets a chance to pursue his NFL career at some point. They don't seem to need him right now with Matt Stafford. That can always change, one week later, one hit later, but for the moment, seems like he can be patient in whatever he is facing currently.
In the world of golf.
Yay!
Don't
It's
bring
not
up
me
a
that
ton of
brings
golf.
up golf.
Yeah.
You bring up no golf. I bring up all the golf.
I'm bringing
here.
it up because we're talking about Netflix and we're talking about Full Swing, the Netflix documentary covering the PGA Tour and everything. Going
All
to
access, behind the scenes.
It's the hard knocks of golf.
Yeah.
Well, Full Swing is not going to get the full access that they had hoped they were going to get when it comes to the Ryder Cup, and especially like the team rooms where the teams are going to be having their meetings, talking strategy, all of that.
Full stop.
Yes, Zach Johnson, he's the captain of the U.S. He said he spoke to all 12 players on his team because concerns were raised about having a film crew being in the team room. And they unanimously said, nope, this is off limits. I don't like that. I understand that there is a level of, sanctity for the team rooms. But when you watch like Hard Knocks, that's the best stuff, is the inside the coach's room, the meetings that are taking place.
Right.
And for me, as a very casual observer of the game of golf, that's the content that I want.
I mean, is there a curiosity on my part to see what goes on? Especially team golf is such a different concept, to see like how they decide like who's going out for the afternoon matches. How does Zach Johnson decide that? How does he break the news to the players who are sitting?
Right.
Because you play 4 matches, so that means 8 players at a time, which means you have 4 players who are sitting, and I'm sure they all want to play mostly. So you gotta tell these guys, hey, I need you to sit down this afternoon. It's like, I played great this morning. What do you mean? That would be a fascinating conversation to see. As for the
I think that's an L that we
as
won't
for
get
the
that content.
logistics of it, I don't know how the Full Swing, like what their contract is. Is it with the PGA Tour? Because the Ryder Cup is not a PGA Tour event. I mean, I don't know that they have to let cameras in anywhere. I mean, they have their own TV contracts and everything, so
Yeah, I don't
they
know
may have
exactly what they're...
They may have the full right to just say, no, we're not doing this. You're out.
Well, they obviously do, because they did.
And yeah, so I'm a little disappointed because I want to see that. I think the Ryder Cup is a special event in that it's truly the only golf event where you're not pursuing individual glory. It doesn't matter. You could go 5-0 in your matches, and if you lose, your team loses the Ryder Cup, you lost.
Right.
And it's different in if you finish third in the Masters and you win whatever millions of dollars, you finish third and you won millions of dollars and you did really, really well. And there's no one that can argue that you didn't play really, really well. But you could shoot 59 in 5 straight rounds. But if your team loses the Ryder Cup, it's a loss. It's an L. So it's a very different dynamic. Players, they don't even really get paid. They used to not get paid anything for the Ryder Cup. Now because there's so much money involved, they get money for charity, like they can put it toward their foundations and stuff. But really, they are still like doing this for their country, for the pride of winning for their country or for Europe or whatever it is. So it's a special event on the golf calendar. And if they want to keep treating it as such, and that means that you'll get a little less access to those Full Swing cameras, I can understand that.
All right. Finally, we'll wrap it up here. The National Toy Hall of Fame just announced
NTHOF.
Yes, the very
Where is
famous.
that anyway, by the way? Like, if I wanted to go visit the National Toy Hall of Fame, what little podunk town? Because all the Hall of Fames are in weird places for the most part.
Canton, Ohio.
Cooperstown, Springfield, Massachusetts. I don't know how they decided on some of these places.
Let's see here. Salem, Oregon.
Of course. Some weird place. Like random tourist attraction that you would never otherwise go to that town.
No, now it's also that was the original
was in Salem.
Was in
Oregon.
Salem. Now it's in Rochester, New York.
Rochester,
so,
fantastic.
Same thing. Anyways, they have revealed the finalists. There's 12 finalists for the class of 2023, and the finalists are baseball cards, which I think is interesting. I don't know that those are toys.
No, what are you talking about?
I'm just reading. I'm telling you.
Cards.
Baseball cards are finalists for the National Toy Hall of Fame. Battleship is a board game, but I guess that's more of a toy than baseball cards to me.
Battleship is a toy. Absolutely. It's a game,
it's a
but
board game,
board game. I mean, I'm sure like Monopoly is already in the Toy Hall of Fame.
I'm sure it is.
So Battleship that's okay.
Bingo. Bop It. Oh, I loved Bop It. Did you ever have a Bop It?
Yeah, I was
Or
a
you were
little
too old, probably, when
old,
those
but
came
I
out.
think we got one for the kids at some point.
They
Many
came
years
out with
ago.
different versions.
Bop It.
Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
Choose Your Own Adventure game books.
That's a book. That's not a toy. It's not a toy.
Interactive
Game book? No.
book.
It's a book.
Connect 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I can't believe that's not already in. Are you crazy?
This
Connect
one's
4?
This one's probably a slam dunk, given all the hype. Ken from Mattel.
Oh,
Ken
see,
doll.
that's a very PRE choice right now.
Oh, yeah,
Ken was
just
never
Ken
was never a Hall of Famer. Barbie's the only Hall of Famer
Right.
in that
They're
group.
they're riding the Barbie wave.
I'd put different Barbies in, like Malibu Barbie and all the other Barbies in before Ken even gets a sniff.
The Cozy Coupe. It's that classic red car with the yellow roof. That one is from Little Tykes. That's on the list. Nerf toys. It just says Nerf toys. I don't know if there's a specific toy or just Nerf.
Nerf football
the brand
would definitely go in.
Yeah, but
And
Nerf.
then
Nerf's got a billion different.
And then the Nerf
guns.
Guns would be the top 2 Nerfs for sure.
Slime. Slime is on there. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
All right, to me, Connect 4.
Yep.
Battleship. No brainers. I don't know how many get inducted, but those are the
3
no-brainers on the list.
They are voted on by toy experts.
I mean,
and there is a public voting at museumofplay.org.
Cabbage Patch Kids are an interesting choice. Nerf is an interesting choice. I lean toward Nerf, but I'm a boy and played with boy toys,
Right.
not Cabbage Patch Kids. But I understand a lot of people did have and play with their Cabbage Patch Kids in the 80s. But Battleship and Connect 4, I think, are my
Cabbage Patch Kids just seems like a Hall of Fame.
my first ballot.
A Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
All right, we'll find out. The winners will be announced November 9th.
Is it weird that I actually care about this more than I care about like who goes into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Right. I'm much more invested in this
And the
one.
Toy Hall of Fame is actually more interesting to me than the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Baseball cards, though.
Baseball cards are not a toy. Choose Your Own Adventure books are not a toy. Poor choices.
Bingo and Nerf were nominated last year and didn't make the cut.
Bingo is not a toy either, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. Last year's inductees were Light Bright, Masters of the Universe, and Tops, Spinning Tops.
Tops don't do much for me. Very retro. Light Bright, though, I enjoyed my
I
Light
loved a
Brights.
Light Bright.
I did like my Light Bright. All right, we'll take a time out. We'll come back. It is our football threesome, second week of our new segment, 3 stories from the world of football. Kind of like the Reindl Report.
A threesome would be fun.
There it is. Coming up next after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Off day for the Padres. They will not be back until tomorrow in Oakland, which gives us the ability today to focus on something else. How about we make it football, Paul?
Can Ben and Woods interest you in a threesome?
A threesome would be fun.
Oh, not that kind of threesome.
Dang it.
We're talking end-arounds, the best tight ends in the world.
He must work out.
And going all the way in this game of inches.
Nice.
It's the NFL Threesome with Ben and Woods. Brought to you by Hamul Casino. Fun above all else on 97.3 The Fan.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Where does that come from? Was that
is an actual
like a referee,
moment that happened.
like
I think it might have been college football actually.
giving
but
him
yes,
the business?
That's not altered.
Is that like
that's not a joke.
Is that like unsportsmanlike conduct in a way?
Giving him the
taunting
business.
essentially. Is that I don't even know.
I think it's holding. Like he was just
it was just
pulling on the guy's jersey.
Why would he say giving him the business? Then it's so funny. That is such a funny drop in that open. I love that one. All right, it is time. Even without Woods, can we do a threesome without Woods here?
Oh, how does that
kind of? I don't know how it works. Mathematically, we're a little off, but I'll start with some news that broke this morning.
3 stories in football.
Yeah, it's not earth-shattering, but the NFL announced this morning that, as you can expect, they are going to continue their relationship with the country of Great Britain, more games in London, but now officially granting Tottenham Hotspur Stadium the status as the home of the NFL in the United Kingdom. It's an expanded partnership that assures at least 2 regular season games every year will be played at that facility. That's been, in the last couple of years, they've added that. They used to play their London game every year at Wembley, and then they started expanding, and they had the Tottenham Hotspur game. Now, this year, they already have 2 games planned there. There's going to be a game at Wembley on October 1st. That's Jacksonville against Atlanta. And then Wembley
Is that the Toy Story game? Have you seen this?
Is that the Toy Story game? I saw they were talking the ads
I saw an
about
advertisement for it, and I go, what the hell?
Right.
They're like gonna. They've done
I
the
know they have the Nickelodeon
game.
game.
This is like the whole.
Pixar said, I want some of that sweet NFL partnership.
It's going to be like a live game, but they're going to be toy characters, and they're going to be in Andy's room. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm
to the end zone and beyond.
Yeah, I'm incredibly interested in
I have
that.
no idea. And then the Jags stick around, and they'll play the next week at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against the Bills on October 8th. And then the next week, it's the Ravens and the Tennessees at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I don't think anyone thought that NFL London games were going away, but now officially through 2029, they're going to have at least 2 every year at Tottenham. Now, it doesn't say, does this mean there won't be games at Wembley anymore? Or maybe they'll still do a 3rd game at Wembley like they're doing this year. It wasn't necessarily explained completely. And don't forget, they also have the Germany games in November in Frankfurt, Germany, as part of the international slate for this year as well. So that footprint is just getting bigger across the globe for the NFL.
Absolutely. Next story that we're following here in the world of football. We've hinted at it and talked about it very, very briefly throughout the show. But yesterday we did hear from Aaron Rodgers, really for the first time since he had his season-ending injury on Monday night. He posted on Instagram yesterday, thank you to everybody that reached out. I will try to get back, blah, blah, blah. Says, I'm completely heartbroken and moving through all of the emotions, but deeply touched and humbled by the support and love. Please keep me in your thoughts and prayers as I begin the healing process today. And then he says, the night is darkest before the dawn, and I shall rise yet again. Proud of my guys, 1-0 with a Jets emoji.
Well, so I mean,
that certainly tells me that he's running it back next year.
I mean, you don't have to read between the lines on that statement. That's a clear, my plan is to come back. Now, that doesn't mean he will come back.
Plans go wrong.
He's got to go through the rehab process and make it all the way back. But it sounds like his intentions are very clear that he intends to quarterback again in the NFL.
I think it must have been Tuesday now. I watched a little bit of Pat McAfee's old show that's new now on ESPN. He is very tight with Aaron Rodgers.
I saw he dropped his first F-bomb on that show.
Yes, I was actually watching. I was like, oh, there it is. He's very tight with Aaron Rodgers. When Aaron's playing, he's a weekly guest with Pat McAfee. So I was curious to what he had to say. And he brought up an interesting point where he says, it's so easy for fans, people that haven't played the game, to just go, oh, he's just got 7 months of rehab and he'll be good to go. He goes, this is major surgery. This is major rehab. It's not just rest up for 7 months and then you're good to go. Like, it is a grueling process for the type of rehab that Aaron Rodgers is going to go through.
I get that, and I respect that, but let's be honest. Being an NFL player is a grueling process.
Right.
If you're not doing one grueling process of rehab,
well, this is just adding another.
You're doing
one to
another
it.
grueling process of preparing for each game and massive film study every single week. You're doing some sort of grueling process. Now, instead of getting ready to face the Cowboys this week and spending every waking moment you have getting ready for that game, well, you're going to be spending hours doing rehab. It's less fun, I'm sure, rehabbing your Achilles than going and playing a football game and getting ready for an opponent. But it's all grueling in the NFL, and it's all nonstop when you're a football player. So I never thought that was going to be like the reason Aaron Rodgers didn't come back. He's, it's just too hard.
Right.
Like, because the rest of your career was just so easy, and now you're not willing to do something hard to come back. So, yeah, I didn't see much of that. I mean, I'm not surprised that he's going to want to come back and not have that be his last moment in the NFL.
Right.
Coming off the field in the fourth play of the season. Nah. I mean, if Alex Smith came back from pretty much almost losing his leg on a field just to play some meaningless games with Washington at the end of the year, Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. He could still be a star quarterback next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
MVP, Super Bowl winner. It's, All right, finally, number 3 in our football threesome. Got to look ahead. We got Thursday night football.
Number 3.
Tonight, and it's a pretty good game. Interesting game. The Minnesota Vikings visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. The Vikings, of course, are coming off a disappointing home loss to the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Right.
The Eagles are coming off a decent road win against the New England Patriots. So, as you'd expect, the Eagles are just about a touchdown favorite, 6.5-point favorites in the game tonight. I've seen even a lot of people picking them in their survivor pools this week. Paulie, you're still alive in the survivor pool.
I am still alive.
Intrigued by the Eagles. I would stay away from this. In survivor, I'd stay away from this game. I feel like the Vikings are going to, I think they underperformed a little bit last week. They're going to be desperate to come out.
Right.
The Eagles were good, but not great. They're definitely going to be a little more cautious with Jalen Hurts.
It's not a slam dunk.
I don't think that's a slam dunk game. I think the Eagles should be favored, and they are.
I'm staying away from this.
But if I had to pick one winner, I'm staying away from that one.
I'm staying away from this gambling. I don't like this game. I'm not comfortable with it. As far as looking at the survival pool, I'm looking at on Yahoo Sports, at least, they have the pick distribution for all the remaining players. Yeah. And heading into week 2, there are 3 matchups that are clear-cut favorites. Number 1, nearly a quarter of all people remaining on Yahoo Sports are picking the Buffalo Bills this week. I
saw that too.
0-1 Buffalo taking on 1-0 hosting the Vegas Raiders.
Now, do I believe the Raiders are a better team than the Bills, especially on the road? Of course not.
Right.
But keep in mind, the Bills looked terrible.
They looked
and
really
lost,
bad.
And the Raiders went on the road and won last week. We may be wrong. We may be underestimating the Raiders and overestimating the Bills. To me, that is a very dangerous game to pick as well in survivor pools. I don't think that I think there's one.
Well, 14% of people are following my method of last week, just picking whoever plays the Arizona Cardinals. So a lot of people are picking the New York Giants. I stayed away from that one.
They're picking the New York Giants, who just lost 40-0 to bounce back on the road. That's insane, okay? That's a terrible survivor pick in my mind.
Yeah, if you weren't with us last week, we started
You saw the Arizona Cardinals. They weren't horrifically bad against Washington. They lost, so they weren't horrifically bad. Now they're at home against a team that just lost 40-0.
Right.
Maybe the Giants are terrible. That's a weird pick.
I'm looking to just stay alive. We started a 5-person survival pool with the 3 of us.
I saw people picking the Niners, which, again, they looked really good. They're going on the road to play a Rams team that
just went up to
Seattle.
Yeah.
I don't like that pick either.
I am locking in with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that's the one for me,
too. They looked
too.
really good, and they're playing the Jets, who got the win.
They did.
They're hosting the Jets in Dallas this weekend.
And the Cowboys aren't winning this game 40-0. The Jets defense is too good. That's going to keep it a little closer, but My guess is the emotion of that night and just the fact that it was close and they found a way to come back and win it. There's going to be a huge letdown this week for the Jets. Going on the road, you don't have your crowd. You're
that emotional momentum.
To me, this is a clear 15, 20-point win for the Cowboys. I think that's your survivor pick for this week, unless you want to save the Cowboys for later and take a chance. But
I don't. That's the thing. I kind of want to ride them while they're hot here. So I am, I'm locked in, taking the Cowboys.
All right, there's our football threesome for this week. All right, let's come back. As I said, I want to go through some of the college matchups because you got to plan your Saturdays nowadays around Deion Sanders. I wasn't expecting to have to do that to figure out which games you're going to watch.
We had some breaking news in Major League Baseball.
Oh, I haven't seen that. All right, we'll get to both of that coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by BalancePro.org. Are you a senior and homeowner who's struggling with day-to-day expenses? Balance offers reverse mortgage counseling, a loan that enables you to withdraw a portion of your home's equity for expenses. Learn more and visit BalancePro.org or call 1-888-456-2227. Well, Paulie just teased it. We got some breaking baseball news for you. We'll get to that right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the premier auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Traffic is sponsored by iAccident Lawyers. Wrapping things up with a couple problems along the 78 on the westbound side before the 15. Crash involving a motorcycle. Looks like one vehicle over the right shoulder, one in the center divide. Also, Twin Oaks Valley Road on-ramp to eastbound 78, a collision. iAccidentLawyer.com fights to get you the bigger win while you focus on getting back on the road. iAccidentLawyer.com. It's the way to go. Call 800-920-0810. I want to wish producer Paul a very happy birthday. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I don't think Kelly
Thank
ever
you,
wished
Kelly.
me a happy birthday. That was nice of her.
She likes me more than you.
Well,
That's
obviously,
well done.
everyone does. That's not a... I mean, everyone likes Woods more than me. Everyone likes you more than me. I'm the villain all of a sudden on this show. I don't know how that happened.
Tough guy over here.
All right, breaking news on 97.3 The Fan is presented by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. The Boston Red Sox have just parted ways with their chief baseball officer, essentially their GM. Chaim Bloom is out after the team had a second straight disappointing season. They're currently, I think, tied with the Yankees for fourth place / last place in the AL East after missing the postseason the year before. Bloom was hired prior to the 2020 season, I believe, pandemic year. They
Sounds right.
had a losing record. I mean, it's the pandemic. I don't know that really matters. But then in 2021,
Nothing from 2020 matters.
his
We've gone
first
over
full
this.
season led the Red Sox to the ALCS. They lost in 6 games to the Houston Astros, but had a really good full season there. Had a bad season last year, and this year they're just treading water a little, one game above 500. So not good enough for the Boston Red Sox, who are parting ways with Chaim Bloom. It does indicate what a different standard other teams hold their executives to compared to the Padres. Because if the Red Sox hold on and finish, a game above 500, Chaim Bloom in 3 years will have one more full season winning record than A.J. Preller's had since 2015. And he's out of a job with a smaller payroll in Boston than the Padres have had. Keep that in mind. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. You see a lot of teams that change their GMs and managers a lot tend to be the worst teams. That's very true, that you want to have a team that keeps their guys around for a while because consistency tends to be a positive. It's just you got to have the right people to be consistent with, and I guess the Red Sox decided that Bloom was not the right person for them. I'd imagine that this isn't his last baseball stop. He's still very young, and interestingly enough, he was an intern with the San Diego Padres back in 2003.
Got that connection.
Now, no one's left from the Padres 2003 that are still around today. So it's not like, oh yeah, all my buddies from the Padres are still running that team and that organization. It's not. It's 20 years ago. It's a completely different ownership group, front office. Everything's pretty much changed. So he doesn't really have any connections with the Padres other than one kind of summer internship while he was also writing for Baseball Prospectus. But, he's got the track record of helping the Tampa Bay Rays build up for many years, to become that Rays team that always found great talent and then was given this opportunity with the Red Sox. I'm not going to say he fell flat on his face. That would not be the correct way to characterize Chaim Bloom's tenure. He did not accomplish what they wanted him to do, which I'm sure was win a World Series in Boston. They've won 4 of them in the last 20 years. I'm sure they were looking for number 5 and didn't feel like they were that close to it, so they're going to go in a different direction. But Chaim Bloom now sitting out there as a potential front office option for any team that is looking for someone in their front office.
And I think if you're here in San Diego, you see that news come across, it's only natural to at least wonder, all right, if Papa Pete moves on from A.J. Preller this offseason. Is Chaim Bloom a name anywhere on your list of guys that you would like to see come in and take over for the San Diego Padres?
I mean, I don't know if he's the guy, but he's definitely on the list of
okay,
people I'd be talking
on the top
to.
three? Like, is he high on that list?
Yeah, he's. If there's a short list, I would think he'd be on a short list even.
Yes.
Still might not be the guy, but if they are looking for a new GM, and all indications are they are not, but if they were, he would be on the list and probably fairly high on the list as guys you'd want to talk to at this point.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, with the Padres taking the day off, I did want to look ahead, and we're going to be off tomorrow. Braden's going to be in. Thank you, Braden, for coming in and holding down the fort until we're back on Monday morning, and Woods will be back Monday morning as well. I wanted to look a little bit ahead to the college football weekend because there are just so many options right now, and I've been so into it the last couple of weeks, and
it's been fun.
Clearly Dion has been part of that. He's added some excitement to college football, but if you are interested in his game this week, Colorado State at number 18 Colorado, you got a long time to wait. That's the 7 p.m. game Pacific time on ESPN. So that's the very last game of the day. And sure, it'd be great to watch that one, but you have a whole day in advance to try to figure out what's good. I mean, it's not, there's nothing that's clearly out there. Like in the morning, the 9 a.m. games, you've got Florida State at Boston College on ABC, number 7 Penn State at Illinois on Fox, and number 14 LSU at Mississippi State on ESPN. I would tend to lean toward the SEC game there, LSU Mississippi State. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know a ton about either of those teams. I think the Mississippi State, obviously the death of Mike Leach and Arnett, his assistant, taking over. They won last week. I think it's just maybe it's a league game, so it feels like it has a little more meaning to me than any of the other ones. But none of those are really I can skip those in the morning.
Yeah, there's nothing in the early part of the day is really standing out.
Yeah, the at 11:30 I saw. So Woodsy's going to be at this game. Number 9 Notre Dame hosting Central Michigan. It's not even on TV. It's on Peacock. It's streaming. I didn't realize NBC, who has the Notre Dame contract for the home games, is actually farming out this Notre Dame game. It's such a low interest Notre Dame game that it doesn't even make the network. It's just going to be on Peacock. I mean, if that's what NBC thinks of it, then I guess I'm not that concerned either. South Carolina at number 1 Georgia is the midday game on CBS at 12:30, or you can go number 10 Alabama at South Florida at 12:30 on ABC. I don't even know why we're showing that game other than ABC doesn't have the rights to SEC games, so the only time you could show Alabama would be if they're on the road. So they're going to take them at South Florida, but that's not really that compelling of a matchup. They're just getting Alabama on television. Or you got Minnesota at North Carolina on 12:30 on ESPN. That doesn't do much for me. Western Kentucky at number 6 Ohio State at 1 p.m. at Fox. That doesn't do much for me. The middle day game slates aren't terrific either.
San Diego State at number 16 Oregon
yeah.
State.
Oh, I guess that's your middle of the day slate. Yeah.
On,
so
that one's on FS1.
I mean, you can enjoy that one for about
5 minutes,
12 minutes or so until it's probably going to be a blow. Hey, if San Diego State can keep that one close, that's clearly the one I'm most interested in. I just feel like you'll be lucky if it's still a game in the second half.
Yes,
in that one. So then that brings us to the prime time East Coast games, 4:00. Number 11 Tennessee at Florida. All right, that's a fairly decent matchup. Pitt at West Virginia at 4:30 on ABC. Neither of those teams are ranked in the top 25. That is a rivalry game, Pittsburgh and West Virginia, but not one that I think people in Southern California really care about. And then you've got TCU at Houston, also 2 unranked teams on Fox at 5 p.m. It's a disappointing slate. I'm really, all my eggs are in the Colorado State-Colorado basket at 7 o'clock. And
yeah, I've got money on that one, so I'll be following it at 7 p.m.
That could be like the Aztecs game, though. I mean, that could be literally second quarter, and it's completely a blowout. And, by 7:45, you're going, all right, well, let's flip on Padres A's or whatever else is going on Saturday night. It's an underwhelming slate of college football this weekend. Is that fair to say?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Really, the only game that's kind of circled for me right now, at least, is Colorado State.
I wanted to get excited about it.
I was hoping that would be an earlier game, but
yeah, I bet it's hard to get excited about it. Now, I'm more excited about the pregame shows both being in Boulder at the same time.
Yeah, Fox doesn't even have the rights, and they're like, no, we're going to ride it with Dion for a third straight week.
Like wake up on Saturday like I do, probably like 7:30. I'll flip that on, watch all the pregame hype, and then turn it off for 10 hours until the actual game starts at 7 o'clock. And then maybe watch that for like 45 minutes until it's a blowout, and then you're pretty much done. So it's honestly not the best of college football matchups this weekend, which leads us to Sunday then in the NFL. And we already went through some of the matchups. I actually do think you have good matchups in the NFL this week, in that it was so hard to pick a survivor pick. Generally means you should have pretty good matchups, like even in good games that should go down to the wire, because the Cowboys-Jets was the only one that I felt even remotely comfortable with. I'm still alive, by the way, in the 97.3, the fan pool, the Scraby non-monetary pool.
Yeah.
I'd rather win ours because that had the money involved in it, but if I'm going for the pride, I did pick the Ravens last week in the other pool, and I, like you,
already lasted longer than you two idiots in our pool.
That's true.
I gotta beat Michael and Adam.
But I went with the Cowboys like you did in the 97.3 the fan pool this week. So I feel like they've got the best chance to definitely win. Baseball, Padres they actually came home last night. They don't usually do that. Usually on a road trip you go city to city to city and you just stay on the road and team plane and check into a new hotel. They did not. They came home, and they will not be departing for Oakland until this afternoon. Now, maybe part of that is the fact that, all right, end of the season, we're not really in it anymore. No need to force everybody to stay an entire day in an Oakland hotel when we're just 2 hours away from home and you can go back and see family for a few hours, sleep in your own bed, get up in your own bed, see your wife or your girlfriend or whatever for a few hours, and then we'll meet back at Petco Park, and
makes sense.
We'll fly to Oakland later in the day.
I don't have a problem with Oakland.
I don't have a problem with that. Maybe it would be different if the Padres were in a playoff chase and they'd say, let's stay locked in and we'll just fly straight from Los Angeles to Oakland late last night, get into our hotels, get comfortable. But no, they're going to fly out this afternoon from San Diego, and they will face the Oakland A's tomorrow through Sunday to wrap up their road trip, and then they'll have their final homestand of the season. Starts on Monday against the Colorado Rockies, coming to town on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week to start the last six. Which day is the Xander Bogaerts? We got some of those in studio yesterday. The jersey shirt. It's the City Connect jersey shirts that they're giving away. They have been on Tuesdays, I think, is going to be Tuesday again in that final homestand. So keep an eye out for that. Everyone's like, hey, like the old days, the giveaways are the highlight right now for the Padres games, and everyone loves the giveaways.
Right. That's pretty much all we got going for us right now.
And that, well, fortunately, because we are now at the end of our program. We've made it through 2 days without Woods.
We did it.
Best radio we've ever done? Yes.
Christmas says Monday is the Xander shirt.
Oh, Monday is the shirt.
Monday.
Okay. Right, to start
Not
the homestand.
Tuesday, Monday.
Thank you for the correction.
Monday.
I don't want to put bad information out into the universe at all. So, but Monday is also the day that Woodsy will be back. He will have lots of stories of travel and Notre Dame and hotel rooms with Bo and more nostalgia from his days in Chicago. So make sure you get up bright and early for Foreplay and all those stories on Monday morning. Until then, Braden's in tomorrow. Also in next with Coach John Quintero. For executive producer Paul Reindl.
Thank you,
I'm Ben
everybody.
Higgins. Thanks, Tier 1s. Have a great weekend from all of us here at 97.3 The Fan. So long.